Hey guys. Alright, so we're here for the vote. We're at NHTI with the governor, hoping that we get no's on this $27 million. We got a lot of freedom fighters here, which is amazing, and WMUR is here, so how about that? Alright, I'll give you guys kind of a quick tour.
He got me through the worst times of my life.
Alright, everybody hear me?
I was actually mad at him.
Okay, so it goes to fiscal. It really doesn't matter what happens here today. It does for us because we need to make sure that they're
We're joined by several state troopers.
That's the most important part of this whole thing, right? They work for us. So, but just so you know, we've already been sold down the river. So there's a $1 million contract that got signed, actually it's like $1.3 million, under the guise of through DHHS for STD. It's on the granite rock, you guys can see it. So everything that they're doing here is absolutely illegal. It's unconstitutional. So when the governor can meet with the executive council and they can talk about what they want for funding or whatever. But all of that has to go to the full body of the general court, which is the full body of the legislature. So that is what, this has been going, this is long before Sununu. This has been going on for years. So before the 22nd, we are filing a lawsuit. My name's going to be on it, along with a couple other people, and we are going to stop this. It's lockstep, but we live in a lawless state. So, you know, we can't necessarily trust the courts, but it's everything that they're doing is illegal. So we need to stop it, and that's how we're going to try to stop it. So they can't do this anymore, and we're going to see how we can go back to what they've already done. I mean, there's been 18 months of this money that's been coming into the state, and Sununu's been signing the checks and basically taking this in. As you know, early on, the Democrats tried to stop him, to say that he couldn't unilaterally take money in, this COVID money, without having oversight. And our oversight is the 400 reps. And that's the issue, is that there has been no oversight. That lawsuit didn't go anywhere. I actually think it was just a ploy from the Democrats to act like they were doing something. So now the people are going to do something. So all of this will be supported. I mean, it's going to be blasted out everywhere when we file. So let's hopefully do the right thing today. But there's a lot of other things that they haven't done. So pray, and pray that the courts, we get some justice here, and then we can shut it down once and for all.
Oh, that's Teresa's. I'm not. Who's standing outside?
There's WMUR right there.
It's good to see you, man. Oh yeah, you like that? Yeah, that's what I said. It's so funny. I'm like, oh, you like that? I say that to
We're down to Sexton. I saw him coming in. We're down to Sexton.
White shirt.
It's early too, which is good. For live.
Oh, he's over there, that guy.
It's in the background.
Adam Sexton.
Yep.
Adam Sexton, we are not anti-vaxxers. We want bodily autonomy. We are anti-mandate people. That's the whole thing. We are tired of the fake news, and why don't you actually record it correctly today, okay?
How come we haven't been arrested yet for those threats that were made, right? The man bun guy threatened the 5-year-old kid governor, I thought. I'm here. Here I am. Come arrest me if threats were made. They're not going to, because no threats were made. Fake news, lies. We know what it is.
Fake news. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news. Save America.
Don't you tell people, that's real news. Tell people about where you're going to be
brother.
Good morning, everybody. So Reopen New Hampshire has been fighting this since the beginning of this. Good morning. Is that better? Sorry, I'm not used to giving one of these. Thank you. So my name is J.R. Hall. I'm one of the co-founders of Reopen New Hampshire. We started this not this year, but last year, as our lives were stolen by government. That's right. It was obvious in the very beginning that this was a virus, and that typical measures to prevent virus transmission were acceptable and the right thing to do. Locking down all of the businesses, shutting down people's lives, pulling kids out of school was the wrong solution. It hurt more people. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with the unintended consequences of what government did last March a year ago. Today we can stand and start taking back some of what's been stolen. And what we need the Executive Council to do is very simple. To vote down the $27 million in contracts. Kelly behind me has printouts. We're going to turn in all the people, all the signatures who co-signed our letter over the last week. And there was 1,470 at 5 o'clock last night, and there were 1,600 this morning. So there's another 100 plus that signed it last night. And we're going to let those people know how the Executive Council has voted. Because at the end of the day, if they're not going to do what we want as citizens, it's time to replace them in office.
All right, so just to kind of recap, we're just being told that they're only going to allow 100 and I believe it is 73 of these patriots, these Americans, these New Hampshire residents into the facility, yet again violating law. They have to make accommodations for the public, and this will be the second time, and they're not doing that again. Besides the fact that they didn't give us the 5 days notice, which again violates law, and we're going to hold them accountable. So we're going to make sure that several of our best freedom fighters are part of the group that gets in, and we will go from there. Let's hope and pray that we get all no votes, but if we don't, then we're going to go from there. We're also going to talk about some of the injunctions that are being filed to put the kibosh to a lot of this, and the reversals that will be happening too. So I'm just going to kind of stand by. We should be getting in soon, and we'll go from there, guys.
I actually, I'm a coward. I hid behind cars until they cleared, and then I was like, okay, that was cool.
He's banking on these people who have short memories to be able to act. And the Democrats have been so far left that he
We do not consent.
They're two. It's not about they are two. They're the opposite wings of the same shipper.
two choices.
Hold on by. And that's, I've distanced myself from them because I'm so disappointed. And she would really kind of.
I'm in New Hampshire. Right, yeah. And it is basically
And I also
I mean, Reopen New Hampshire also said for people not to show up to our WMUR protest. Why? Because WMUR doesn't deserve the time of day from us. But the day before, 2 days before, they just did a press release with WMUR. How come they get coverage by the news at every event that other people put on? And they try to take credit for it, and then it gets spun in the governor's favor, because whatever they say goes against the real opposition. We're not a group. We the people. We're here to enforce the Constitution and make sure these politicians abide by it. Exponentially. Yes. The vaccine database, this money as well is going to go to the tracking and tracing, enforcing vaccine passports, locking people out of society like they're doing in New York. You need to have a vaccine passport to get a McDonald's burger. And also the isolation and quarantine of the unvaccinated and healthy people. So we can see what's going on. It's right in there. It's boilerplate language. This is not boilerplate language. This is frog boiling, is what it is.
When it is time for the vote, we are going to stand up, we are going to turn our backs, and we are going to link arms together. Okay? And we're going to stay silent while we listen to the vote.
Well, it's up to these groups that I call controlled opposition, which they try to undermine the grassroots. There has to be a protest movement. We need to be the stick to get them to eat the carrot that Reopen and all these politicos want to do. They're not activists, they're politicians and they're lobbyists. And if they want good bills to get pushed through, we need to be speaking with our feet and showing up as people. And if they can't get behind the people, then who are they and what are they really doing? That's the question.
There was word that several of them realized that it needs to be a no vote. So I have a lot of hope this morning.
I was planning on being silent anyways because they want to take one little clip of me being loud and color everybody as crazy guy with the man bun and beard, and I'm easy to smear, right, in that respect. And so my plan was to be, just come here and be casual and do my thing and represent the people. And so
Frank. All right, guys, we're gonna go in.
I'll talk to you a little later.
Therese.
Hold on, boys. Hold on to Mimi. Hold on to Mimi. And Grammy. Hold on to Grandma Cheryl. There you go.
We gotta make sure Frank gets in too. I just called him. He was doing an interview. So. There he is.
Good.
We were trying to make sure
make
that
sure
you were.
Come sit with me.
That's why I was like,
Yeah.
let's go.
Me, the troublemakers be together.
You need Frank.
It's funny, my other blowhome's battery just died, so it's funny that they brought me one.
Hey, how are you?
It's okay.
So far, so good.
Just me behind you.
You want to let me know when we start. Hi. How are you? Good morning.
Sorry, honey, I didn't mean to run you over.
How are you? Good morning.
Could you do me one favor? If we exceed the 170, can you do a head count of how many over we were?
I won't be able to do that for you.
Okay.
How are you?
Good morning.
Let me know when we're around like 120.
Yep.
Good morning. Morning, Eric. How you doing? Good.
So again, we're only allowed a certain amount of people. Yet again, violates everything.
Just take a little. You want to go closer to the middle?
Frank, you want to be in front?
I'll say I can.
No, come sit with us.
Here we
God
go.
bless you for coming.
We got enough room here.
Do we? Are you sure? No, we don't.
Oh, but
That's
fine.
okay. I'll go in the back.
You sure?
Yeah, you go ahead. Sit with Therese. Hi.
Sit with us. We're good.
I'm right behind you. I got your back. No problem, Desiree. Wouldn't miss this. So from my understanding, what we're going to do is when they start the proceedings, we're all just going to stand up and lock arms and turn our backs to them and quietly await the votes. Again, everybody pray that we get no's across the board, or at least the majority. Other than that, we're just going to hang out and wait. Unfortunately, a lot of our patriots, our New Hampshire residents, will be stuck outside because, like I said, again, they're just not accommodating the public. So we can address that one after.
They're keeping everybody safe.
So I've counted at least 20 state troopers that are here. So if you want to know where your taxpayer dollars are going, apparently it is to protect the governor from us unruly patriots. Oh, and by the way, when I was driving here this morning, it took me 4 stops before I finally found a restroom. The state rest area on 93 by exit 22. It's only open a couple of days a week, so I hope everybody's getting their refunds from their taxpayer dollars, because on Tuesdays and Wednesdays you can't use the restroom. And then, of course, all of the private businesses who are no longer allowing public restrooms. So, yeah, don't drink a lot of coffee before you leave home, I guess. And just give you kind of an overview of the people that are allowed in. Again, we've got the news media over there.
Did you notice how cloudy it was foggy this morning? What that is
I guess we have some people standing in the back.
Try to make...
All right, so that's what we're looking at. That's what's been allowed in. I have Therese and the boys in front of me, Frank in front of me. We'll see what happens, guys. Anybody know what time it is? I can't see when I go live.
That's a great shot. Thanks, Therese. Anything with Frank in it, I'm all about it.
I was just going to say she's a photo bomber.
I was thinking about it, but I didn't want to have like fingers or like gestures behind you, because it was a good picture.
Thanks, Desiree. All right, so it's supposed to start at 10 o'clock, so we got about 20 minutes. We've got Derek over there in the white shirt. If anybody doesn't know, Derek started another corner down in Manchester, the corner we were standing on when we were outside of WMUR. He's there every single day of the week. I believe it's 4 to 7. If anybody wants to stand with him, he definitely needs support. We all know how it feels to be the only person standing on a corner. So get out there, make sure that our patriots aren't standing alone. on a side funny note, Therese said, she kind of let everybody know yesterday, make sure you wear your Sunday best. So I showed up dressed professional and nobody recognized me, which is kind of funny. They don't know me without jeans and an 8.3 shirt.
The variant's already here. It's not the final one.
Hey, Therese. And it's okay if you didn't. By chance, did you happen to remember my shirt and my flag?
The flag I did. I think the shirt ended up in the laundry. I remember, like, there's an extra shirt here. And I looked in all the closets real quick last night.
Yeah.
And then I got called out, and then the babysitter didn't show. And I think it's in the, but I do have the flag.
It's already here.
Hey guys, if you're going to see David, I'll give you money to buy another.
I would say, no, don't worry about it. I can get one.
They need 3 votes.
They need to have at least 3 solid.
Supposedly we have Penny, Wheeler, and supposedly Gatsis, and possibly, you know, both Gatsis and Stevens are far. We don't know.
Can everybody hear me?
What about Janice?
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah. 3 out of 5.
What about Janice?
Everybody clap twice.
We're waiting for her.
Everybody clap twice. You guys are great. So everyone was just asking, we need 3 no votes. That's what we're looking for, 3 no votes. Okay?
How many votes are there?
There's
How many
5.
voters?
There's 5 up
5 people voting. We're looking for 3 no's. Okay? That's all. Okay. Yeah, you want. Thank you.
Somebody asked me outside. I think it's the majority.
They could just say we're not going to vote on this.
And which would be great.
100%. The governor could reject this. To be considered.
Right. But he's not going to do that.
But he's optimistic. Sununu's optimistic.
And then you said later this morning he's optimistic. Yes, he is going to be here.
What are they going to do with 27 million? Buy a bunch of Krispy Kreme donuts and hand them to people?
No, they're going to do
they're gonna set
isolation
up
and quarantine and get vaccinated. That's part of it. And a track and trace database.
They're going to make more government funding.
Like they have in New York. You can't go to McDonald's without your vaccine passport. And then every 6 months you're going to get your booster shots to be fully vaccinated. Right? You can't comply your way out of tyranny. It just doesn't happen now. Yeah.
That's right, amen.
That's right. There you go.
It's on our political science.
Well, you know what? I was really old school now because they're going to sell the schools one day.
It's not very
We're going to keep them safe.
That's going to wake the parents up.
They're getting there. So this is only going to grow.
And we didn't buy it new. We got it on base final.
Hey, Kevin.
And
Therese. Say hi to your husband, the boyfriend.
Hi, Kevin. I love you. There's a huge number of people here. Everyone did great coming in. Your mom's here. Lots of love. Vincent Delaney came in all the way from the Freedom Family Endeavor from Massachusetts where I spoke. So much support. I got a new blowhorn too, babe. A big one.
Is that black one yours?
Yeah, someone gave it to me as a gift. So.
He said, love you all.
Hey, I see places.
Say hi to Kevin.
Hi, Kevin. Hi, Kevin. But what? There are places everywhere.
She's also saying.
Not
You're here with us in spirit, Kevin. You're here with us in spirit. There was several that couldn't have made it, but we got a great turnout, and everybody just pray. Pray we get the votes that we need.
Very important phrase in the Declaration of Independence.
Try to get the people behind me.
Consent of the government.
We are first in the nation. Yeah. A couple places. Water, like water.
So guys, one of the things that I noticed when I was outside, and we'll have to see what happens, WMUR, like I said, was out there. They were filming. I know they filmed Therese, Pledge of Allegiance. And then Frank got up and talked, and I noticed the camera guy kind of just picked, huh? Am I talking to Kevin? Kevin's on here. You want to say something? You can't see him, honey. See, it's just a picture of the people. But he said, love you all. So when Frank started talking, the camera guy just kind of picked up the camera, and so I have a feeling that won't be any clips that make it into mainstream media. So we'll see. We'll see how they put this together. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. Hence why I have gone live. Sorry guys, for some reason the comments aren't like keeping up with the video, so I might be missing some of them. Hey, Lorianne. Just want to let you know that we have an awesome turnout. Kind of an update. They're not allowing everybody in. It's 172.
People do the protesting part.
All right. Did you hear that, Kevin? It's all us. So they're only allowing, I believe it's 172 people from the public in. For anybody that missed any of that. Which again, violates everything. That's why we shut down the last meeting. But we'll see what happens. You know, we have a couple of different concerns. One, not allowing the public in. The other thing was not giving 5 days notice as they're supposed to. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, guys. It's supposed to start at 10 a.m., whatever time it is now. Hi, Cheyenne.
Stand up and say, who's got a lightsaber?
Like I said, last I counted, there was about 20 state troopers all here. So if you want to know where your tax-paying dollars are going, The boys want to know what's taking Sununu so long.
We're like, okay, you know, like it was cool.
Are you going to speak at all or no?
Thanks, Desiree. Kind of a recap of all the Patriots that are here. And if it wasn't for Lorianne, I wouldn't have been able to be here today. So thank you so much. I appreciate it immensely.
I wanted to ask you, do you mind coming Saturday night? We are having
moving on. Next issue. Yep.
kind of a fundraiser for
Can't keep doing that shit to us.
Enable everybody to Merrimack. Can I put that on the text brigade?
Really wished I had brought my coffee in though. I can tell you
The
that.
other thing that I wanted to ask you is I would have to
We got Frank and Therese in front of us. Had to keep an eye on them, make sure everything goes all right.
I enjoy having it quite a bit. I use it when yesterday we went up to the sanctuary and some of the other end of the lake. I don't well, I mean, we used to go down and take the boat. And we'd go down around the go down around the board where the stuff was.
But I get it.
And then we
I get it.
If anybody that's on, you guys can kind of keep an eye on anything that's going on with WMUR. I don't know if they plan on going live when they're here or not. But if you guys can kind of keep tabs on that while I am here and filming live, that would be awesome. Just in case.
Wow, that's awesome. Right. Yep. Straight up. Yep. A friend that launched it.
And make sure to share this video, guys, please. Share. For all the people that may have doubts, that don't believe, that this is a thing thanks to mainstream media. Share the heck out of this. Let's make sure that that people see what's actually going on.
I went up there and I remember like being on the boat going, oh, this is good. Yeah. And I
Thanks, Desiree. Hey Frank, anything to say to the people?
Let's hope they do the right thing.
Amen.
Vote no.
Vote no.
It's not going to end well. They vote yes. Take it how you take it.
Amen. I heard this morning, I was driving here and I haven't had a chance to confirm it yet, but I heard American Airlines and Amtrak and a few others are standing with Southwest pilots and shutting everything down. because they're refusing to get vaccinated. So that's amazing. I feel terrible for the people that are stranded everywhere. Don't get me wrong, I really do. But until everybody starts standing and taking a stance on this, the tyranny is just going to continue to happen. All right, we should be getting close to time. It should be starting any minute. Like I said, I'll stand up and do another kind of round table. Lots of patriots here. Lots and lots and lots of patriots here. And to the best of my understanding, because again, they couldn't accommodate everybody. We have a bunch of patriots outside. So.
Hey everyone, just real quick, this will be the first and the only time that I use my blowhorn. Let's all say hi to Dick Tracy. He's the criminal investigator for the New Hampshire Department of Health. His name's Dick Tracy.
That's awesome. He looks like the same. He looks kind of like Dick Tracy.
And there is Sununu. I'm going to try to zoom in, guys. Again, make sure to share this video. People need to see actually what is happening, not what mainstream media is portraying. We are not unruly. We are not. We are Americans. We want our rights back. And this bill here will literally affect every person in the state of New Hampshire. Vaccinated or unvaccinated.
Thank you.
I'm going to stay live the whole time, guys. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you.
If they're a politician doesn't mean they're on the freedom side.
I'm very There's our great WMUR reporter. We'll see if he can actually report correct information or if he's just going to continue to spread lies. One of our famous signs.
Into order in just a couple minutes. If I could please again just ask everyone in the audience, it's great that we have the public participation, but again, you have to remain quiet so that the meeting can proceed efficiently without interruption, and just so that other folks in the room can hear the discussions going on between the councilors and the commissioners and the staff of the state of New Hampshire.
Vote no.
We'll just wait for a couple more minutes and so we'll get going.
Absolutely, Kevin.
I caught my thumbnail in a chunk of my and now every time I go to touch my nose, I get
Everyday, hard-working people here.
Hey, what's that? Amy, okay.
He's making faces at me, and she's like, either way, they went one
It's Nunu drinking his coffee up there.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, folks, I think we're going to get the meeting started. Again, I would just ask for folks to settle down a little bit so we can proceed. Obviously, we want to welcome everyone to the October 13, 2021 Governor and Executive Council meeting. Before we start, for those who haven't already, of course, you can keep your phones on, but we do ask them at least to be silent so there isn't interruptions into the meeting. And if we could all please rise, we have prayer. Let's begin us off. Will you join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we thank you today for today's blessing and ask you to watch over all of us gathered here as we conduct the business of the state. We pray for your guidance and wisdom throughout today's meeting. Amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, that kind of disruption is not going to be tolerated.
It was the Pledge of Allegiance.
Again,
The Pledge of Allegiance!
It's America.
Now it's disruption. You're not supposed to be doing this disruption now.
You can't proceed.
Yeah, we have one ceremonial item to conduct today. The swearing in of our new state representative, Captain Longo of Bedford. Is Captain here? And good morning. Come on up, Captain. Congratulations.
So as you guys just heard, Sununu gave us our warning about being too loud for saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
You have one star. No?
Gotta take that mask off for the picture. Oh yeah.
Put the mask back on.
That makes so much sense.
So if COVID is so deadly, we can take it off for the picture, but then we have to quickly put it back on. The deadly virus.
The camera lens taking a picture makes a huge...
Photo optics again.
Breakfast meeting minutes from the September 29, 2021 meeting.
I'll probably push the boat to the end.
Those breakfast meeting minutes. Okay, seeing none, all in favor of those meeting minutes, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved.
Yes.
What secret?
So we also have, I believe there's also a copy of the regular meeting minutes, not from September 29th, this minutes, but the actual September 15th meeting. Hopefully that was provided to you. And again, I would ask for a motion to adopt the regular meeting minutes of the September 15th, 2021 meeting. Any discussion? Changes, no? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of accepting those meeting minutes, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Those minutes are confirmed. Next, from the Office of the Secretary of State, we have our civil commissions. Could I please have a motion to confirm the list of civil commissions? And just to be clear, we're confirming both the civil commissions from both September 29th and October 13th. We're going to do those together. So a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the list of civil commissions, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That list is confirmed. Are there any additional names placed on the list of civil commissions for the Secretary of State? Okay, seeing none, the matter of civil commissions is concluded. Moving on, we have a few resignations to bring before the council today.
Here we
From
go.
the Community College System of New Hampshire Board of Trustees, could I have a motion to accept the resignation of Jeff G. Cousins of Lyman? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
Desiree, can you write down these names?
The resignation is accepted. From the New Hampshire Health and Education Facility Authority, could I please have a motion to accept the resignation of Joe Duncan of Meredith? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The resignation is accepted. From the Waste Management Council, could I please have a motion to accept the resignation of Nancy Kenner of Leap?
All right, thanks, hon.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the resignation is accepted. From the Speech Language Pathology and Hearing Care Provider Governing Board, could I have a motion to accept the resignation of Mary Ellen McKay of Nashua? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mary Ellen's resignation is accepted. From the University System of New Hampshire Board of Trustees, could I have a motion to accept the resignation of Wallace Stevens of Exeter? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Stevens' resignation is accepted. accepted. And from the Voluntary New Hampshire Board of Directors, could I have a motion to accept the resignation of Lori Galetta of Goffstown? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? And with that resignation is accepted. That concludes our resignations for today. Now,
It's a lot of resignations.
confirmations to work with the health.
I want to know why they're all resigning.
Rosemary Ford, National
Yep.
Board of Licensure of Interpreters for the Deaf, Blind, and Hard of Hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? And Rosemary is confirmed. Could I please have a motion to confirm Kathleen Susie Terry to the Board of Medical Imaging and Radiation Therapy? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ms. Susie's confirmed. Could I now have a motion to confirm Amy Althauser of Salem to the Board of Mental Health Practice? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Amy is confirmed. Could I please have a motion to confirm Vincent Biachetti III of Gilmington Ironworks to the Board of Registration of Funeral Directors and Embalmers?
What?
Any discussion?
What the hell is that?
Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
They're just government jobs that I've never heard of before.
Commissioner for the Department of Corrections. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Commissioner Hanks is reconfirmed. Could I please have a motion to confirm Norman Frank of Ackworth to the current use advisory board?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. No votes, so enactment is confirmed. Could I please have a motion to confirm Jonathan Hanson of Bow as the Director of the Division of Administration for the Department of Corrections? Any discussion? No. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Confirmed. Could I now please have a motion to confirm Albert DeRosa of New Durham, Fishing Game Commission? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Could I now please have a motion to confirm Ryan Kaplan O'Brien to the New Hampshire Real Estate Commission? Any discussion?
So just to recap, guys, we're here for the $27 million vote that will literally affect every New Hampshire resident. There's lots of strings attached to this money.
As a broker since February of this year, people do not feel that he was qualified to sit in judgment of other brokers. There's also a concern that he makes the third commissioner from the Seacoast area, and that there isn't adequate diversity. I spoke with him, again, a very nice young man who said that he had completed about 12 transactions. So I'm going to go in opposition, not anything personal, but I just don't feel that he has the qualifications to serve.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of Mr. Kaplan, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
I can we do a quick roll call? It's a close one. I just want to make sure we go around.
No. Yes.
No. So with that, the confirmation is denied. Could I make my motion to confirm Sue Manning of Terry to the New Hampshire Retirement System Board?
Second.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Could I please have a motion to confirm Eric Lassard of Concord to the Pharmacy Board?
So moved.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So Lassard is confirmed. Could I now please have a motion to confirm Madeline Minot of Concord to the Rivers Management Advisory Committee?
So moved.
We'll definitely have to get a list of all these names, the resignations, and who all these people coming on are. But again, to recap, we're here for the public vote on this $27 million that has detrimental strings attached to it for the residents of the state of New Hampshire. We were just warned by the governor when we were doing the Pledge of Allegiance that we were too loud. So we will go from there. We have lots of New Hampshire residents here, all freedom-loving patriots. I'll kind of go around the room.
Can I now please have a motion to confirm Jackie Eastwood of Durham, University System New Hampshire Board of Trustees? So moved. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Got Therese and Frank.
Confirmed the Board of Trustees. That concludes our confirmation for today. I do have a few days of the meeting last week. I have a pretty long list of nominations, if you'll bear with me, into the record for consideration for the next couple weeks.
Thanks, Desiree.
For the Board of Acupuncture Licensing Therapy, I nominate Diane Chase of Nashville. For the Board of Landscape Architects, I nominate Catherine Weiss of Nashville.
Please make sure to share this video,
For the Board of
everybody.
Mental Health Practice, I nominate Deborah
WMUR
Robinson.
is here, but we know they're not going to report it
To the
correctly.
Community Development Finance Authority, I nominate Jared Reynolds of Concord and Michael Plattman of Sugar Hill. To the Dental Hygienist Committee, I nominate Mary Duquette of Hopkins. As the Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Education, I nominate Christine Brennan of Ossipee. As the Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Employment Security, I nominate Rich Lavers of Concord. As the Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Information Technology, I nominate Ken Dunn. As the Director of Security and Training for the Department of Corrections, I nominate Paul Raymond Jr. of Concord. To the Family Mediator Certification Board, I nominate Keely Noyes of New Boston.
Thanks, Lorianne.
To the Fire Standards and Training Commission, I nominate Neil Irvine of New Hampton. To the Higher Education Commission, I nominate Sean Fitzgerald of Keene. As the Justice to the New Hampshire Circuit Court, I nominate Philip Cross of Portsmouth and Daniel Swigert of Warner. To the Juvenile Parole Board, I nominate Michael O'Connor of Swansea and Timothy Flaherty of Franklin. To the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts, I nominate Roger Brooks of Concord, Jason Torres of Sugar Hill, and Peter Warburton of Exeter. As a pharmacist for the Department of Corrections, I nominate Matthew Urbach of Dunbar. As a second-level pharmacist for the Department of Corrections, I nominate Kelly Brown of Canyon. And as a third-level pharmacist for the Department of Corrections, I nominate Tina Diakopoulos of Concord. As a fourth-level pharmacist for the Department of Corrections, I nominate Jeffrey Sims of Boston. To the Public Utility Commission, I nominate Carlton Simpson of Hampton. To the Speech Language Pathology and Hearing Care Provider Governing Board, I nominate Tim O'Meara of Hampton. To the Water Council, I nominate Michelle Davis of Concord. And to the Waste Management Council, I nominate Paul Moser of Durham. And that concludes the nominations for today's meeting. Moving on, we have our consent calendar. I'll begin by asking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar. There's a motion, there's a second. Any discussion or request to remove items for further discussion from the consent calendar? Councilor Wheeler. 5. Any other items to be removed for further discussion?
Can we remove item 5A?
5A. Any other? Give it one moment. So, seeing no more requests to remove items, all in favor of the consent calendar agenda, with the exception of items 5A and 5B, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? With that portion of the consent calendar agenda is moved. Could I get a motion? Could I have a motion to adopt the consent calendar agenda item 5A?
So moved.
Any discussion? This is an item from the Department of
Good morning, Your Worship and Commissioner. Commissioner. My question is, it looks like we've really made no progress on this since we approved this contract. It's obviously a very important service to implementing the suicide prevention line. So I'm just asking for an update on where we are in getting this implemented. I'll let Council Fox speak to that.
So, good morning, Governor and members of the Council. I'm Katya Fox. I'm the Director of the Division of Emergency Rural Health. In response to the question on this particular contract, we've made significant progress. There have been a number of efforts to bring together all the relevant parties that need to be involved in the implementation of that. We are asking for more time, same dollars, to continue that work. As you know, 988 is a 3-digit number that is for the crisis line, what's known as the suicide prevention line, and that is transitioned to a nationwide number. So we have Hudson as our only provider right now, there'll be another one coming soon, that answers that national number, which is the nationwide number. The FCC approved 988 to be that line effective on July 1st. And so we have worked with the Department and with a number.
So Mark, this is for the $27 million that was to be voted on. What was it? I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we shut that meeting down because they were not allowing the public in, all of the public. They're only allowing 50 people, and it's a public hearing to vote on this. That $27 million has a lot of unjust strings attached to it that would be detrimental for the state of New Hampshire. It talks about isolation and quarantine and enforcing, the state of New Hampshire would enforce any federal mandates that came down the line, which basically means that if we accept this $27 million, which the state of New Hampshire does not even need, but if we did accept it, we would be forfeiting our rights to stand up for our citizens, and we would have to enforce and abide by any of Biden's further mandates.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, all in favor of item 5A, consent calendar agenda, please signify by saying aye. Motion to adopt agenda item 5B. Discussion.
And there was no additional cost as a result of this amendment, yet there are 2 change orders for $300,000 for implementation of this HT. Can you explain that?
Yes. Good morning, Governor and Council. Bill Cass, Assistant for the DOT. Basically, the restructuring of the contract, we were told the cost was restructuring, so there's no net increase in the bottom line of the contract total. Part of this restructuring was due some delays to the project. We had previously intended to have this project, the Dover Rochester full project. There's a contract for later on in the agenda for that. We were originally supposed to have it out a couple of years ago. So the contract had some maintenance costs associated with that. That maintenance has been deferred since the project was delayed by a couple of years. So restructuring the contract and redoing it to account for the implementation of ADT versus ORT, we're able to balance out the cost of it to no net increase.
Paragraph 3 of the second page, it states, in addition to the authorization of ADT implementation, the department requests approval of 2 change orders totaling $321,000. Is that going to come to us separately?
No, that is included in this contract amendment.
Okay.
So the original contract, so we're just trying to be transparent. The original contract did not have that task order in it. But with it, like I said, with the savings and the restructuring, we were able to accommodate this task order within the contract. So for transparency, it is an added work item to the original contract, but as I said, it's been absorbed within the bottom line contract total.
Thank you.
Further discussion on Councilman?
How much input was given to eliminating the cash lane? This is the design for this one, but there's another item to construct. Zero cash lanes, eliminating the cash lane. So how many people are on each pass now? How many people are paying cash as a percentage?
I gave more specifics, I'm speaking off the top of my head. System-wide, it's around 75% cash and 25% I think on the C-code, it's maybe lower pass. But as far as public input, the whole office, we went out to public information.
Alright guys, my battery's starting to get low. I will go live again right before they vote on the money. So stand by, be ready. So as soon as I go live, you won't miss it. Thanks. Lorian, right now what they're discussing is making all the tolls easy pass only and no money tolls. Do you guys want me to stay on?
Public involvement in making this.
So were there company public hearings all over the state on this issue, or just the one event?
Well, the asset hearings that we had in 2018, 2020, were all over the state. Primarily, House of Public Works.
Alright, Sage, I'll stay on.
But anybody from the whole state who happens to go through that whole state, right? Even if we've got that in other parts of the state. I mean, why not stay with choice? Why not allow people to pay cash? Why go cash? And if we were to go cash, was the second part of the question is, suppose you go through the toll and you can't pay. What's the process? And then what's the penalty if you don't pay time?
Yep. As far as going to AD versus ORT, I think there were a number of reasons that affected that decision. AD would follow electronic tolling and not have all construction. Certainly, I think that's the way the tolling industry is going now. Some of the expectations from
safety benefits. There's a month or two that goes by that we don't have an accident.
So just to recap, what they're talking about is making all tolls go electronic, that you'd have to have the transponder, keeping in mind you also have to pay money to get that transponder, right? And then you have to add money onto your account electronically, so there would be no more money tolls. A lot of questions are being raised about people have a right to choose on whether, you know, they go electronic. If they don't, the gentleman here at the podium who is talking about it is basically saying it's a safety hazard. So that's why there shouldn't be any money tolls.
We are essentially all electronic tolling. It's not really economically efficient to staff and maintain those local efforts. So since COVID now permanently, we have essentially been AET and even now it's
and he's literally grouping it into a COVID issue.
Even though the council sets the toll rate, they eliminated cash out of the toll rate.
Well, we made it part of kind of business decision looking at the economic efficiency of individual staff paying toll plazas, overnight hours, or volume toll revenue,
Ridiculous, huh, Frank? Yep.
Assistant Commissioner, it's good to see you. In addition to the economic benefits of cost savings, in addition to the
keep in mind, you also have to pay for the transponder before you can even put money onto the account to use your toll.
does electronic tolling also relieve congestion on our highways?
And then they spun it around to say that it was because of COVID.
And by relieving congestion, we encourage tourism in our state, which is a major economic driver for our state. Thank you.
Hey guys, when you're waiting for a vote, this is what you do.
One thing about this is that this debate and stuff was because of the age of the resulting turnpike toll facilities, those old that were 19, so they need to be reconciled and they need to be addressed. Through the debate and discussion was isolated area and at least one foot forward and necessarily a 5 foot. Tiptoeing into this going system wide AD or things like that, it was a probably strategic approach to look at just the small turnpike flashes that needed to be redone, looking at those as a first step in that, or we consider the 5 million. I want to just show that our goal right now is to go system-wide all the time.
So just to be clear, state of cash system, we have a potential $1 million to rebuild the safety. And I apologize, I don't know if you mentioned, so if you keep track of the number of accidents, I know there's been a number of accidents there.
Yes, in the last 3 years, we've had 20 accidents, actually 21 because of the one 2 weeks ago. Vehicles striking the whole flat, the whole barrier. We've had manned people in some of those areas, and luckily they weren't that is a concern.
Mr. Council, we have a full process at our recent master meeting at home. There's a lot of discussion about barriers, sound walls for my residents in Portsmouth. A lot of it focused on air quality, adverse air quality impacting an elementary school along the highway, which is actually 2 schools. Do you think we would completely guarantee that would mitigate a lot of those issues and concerns?
It would certainly be a benefit. And I think that was a big part of the rationale for the support from Dover, Rochester, and some
Further discussion? So, the roll call vote. After item 5A.
Yes.
Yes.
That concludes our items. Moving on, we have our regular agenda.
All right, we're moving on to the regular agenda.
Okay, so moving on to our regular agenda, I begin by asking the motion to adopt agenda items 6 through 12C from the Department of Health and Human Services from the Office of the Commissioner. Please note that item 12 is not needed.
So moved.
Any discussion on these items? The item has been moved by the Department. Please move the item. Governor 12, the top request to remove an item moved.
In regards to agenda item 9, this is testing with clear choice. My question is, we're not accepting private insurance to offset the cost. Are you referring to number 9, which is community MD? Exactly. Okay, so that's post-accidental needle stick testing. So that is not COVID testing. So this is for our volunteers that have an accidental needle stick while providing vaccination, that we cover them to get a series of tests. So that responsibility is on us. Okay, thank you.
Additional questions on the agenda, Councilor Gadsden?
The department is digital matter everywhere you go on CNS. The letter stated overspent by $400 million.
overspent by $400 million.
They need 27 million.
We're still in process with the federal government, so this relates back to the district waiver that was signed in 2016. At that time, there was a budget neutrality factor, and between 2016 and 2020, we had two issues within our state, the opioid crisis and COVID. So what we're talking to CMS about is about readjusting the budget neutrality factor, the original design of the waiver. That's still ongoing, and it has been ongoing for a year. But I'm going to let Attorney John Vermella.
Thank you, Commissioner. For the record, John Vermella, Attorney General. Counselor, when we got this letter,
this is the AG.
I'll start by saying we don't agree with exclusions. We've had discussions with CMS, who has agreed to take another look at this and continue discussions on this issue. This letter is sort of an odd thing for CMS to issue because really notice near the end of it. CMS is not saying here they've actually issued a disallowance. This letter kind of summarizes their conclusions, asks whether we would voluntarily repay the money, and says if we don't, they might issue a disallowance. We've since had discussions with CMS. They're not issuing a disallowance at this time. These discussions are ongoing. So we're hopeful we can resolve this. If we don't resolve this, given that we disagree with the conclusions and we feel strongly that we're right to disagree with them, for now, the discussion is pretty much.
And I'm going to add my two cents here. This budget neutrality agreement essentially was created long before I got here, long before Commissioner Shibanek got here back in the previous administration. To be very clear, both the state, our office, the Commissioner's office, are actually all disagree with the federal government's potential conclusion here. Which is why, again, we're more than willing to litigate it. We feel like we have the data and the formula and all the pieces, if you will, on our side, that they're concluding that we overspent all this money is absolutely not true. So that's why it hasn't been brought forward, because we're still doing our best to resolve it. But again, they're bringing something up that didn't even happen with the administration with literally over, I think, 5 to 6 years ago. But we have to address this.
Obviously, there's litigation. Where do we find the money to pay?
We'll send you a bill. No, I don't know. I mean, I really
A lot of our children.
is on our side.
Governor says if we overspent and we have to pay back this money, he doesn't know. He has no idea where the money's going to come from.
Has the fiscal committee been notified about this matter?
So there's a letter. The fiscal committee was not notified from the letters from CMS.
Resolved at this point. We've had several meetings with them. We have several more meetings to go with them. So we really don't know where it's going to land.
If you could see all the Patriot heads shaking right now.
Well, I know this letter is dated January 15th. We've been pushing back on this issue very quickly.
I would think that somebody would notify fiscal that this letter is out.
You can certainly share a copy of the letter.
How kind of you.
Could I just ask
Very
that
nice.
the letter be distributed to all the councils? Sure.
This letter should be made public.
Yeah.
Further discussion on this or other items, I know,
Sorry guys, my arm is breaking
Speak to the
now.
mic, please.
It's a public hearing, we should be able to hear.
You. Speak into the microphone, sir.
Thank you.
So on number 10, this contract is providing additional funding for community integration, naturalization, health, and mental health training. There's
that are awarded these contracts works directly with the federal government around some of those issues around finding the resources for very specific subpopulations. So it really would be part of the refugee resettlement program that they work with the federal government, not so much something that the state is going to work directly with them for.
But isn't the state indirectly?
Refugee project.
Yes, yes, we are aware of the federal. We are not aware that they've settled yet. We've been told that the first shall arrive in the near future, and the max right now is 175.
Further question on the refugee subject and the Afghans coming to New Hampshire. Are they required to be COVID tested before they get here? And are
So he's asking if the refugees from Afghanistan are required to be tested. Oh, so she's not going to answer them right now?
All of the refugees go through Operation Allies Welcome, which is the federal program around the Afghan evacuees, as well as our regular refugee program, go through medical screening upon coming to the country through the federal government. We do not have anything to do with that. That's part of the federal program. I believe they are being COVID tested as they come.
All right, so here it is, people.
But I have no information about whether they're required to be vaccinated.
So we're going to accept all these refugees. Basically what they're saying is it's up to the federal government, and New Hampshire isn't going to do anything. So they are taking away your jobs, taking away your freedoms, but allowing the Afghani people into the state, and they can walk free and clear. They don't have to be worried. All right, so state troopers are coming over to Frank. It's all right, guys. I got you. They were threatening Frank that if he doesn't be quiet, that he'll have to be removed by the 10 state troopers that walked over. It's friggin' ridiculous.
So therefore, the state wouldn't know. They don't send us reports per se.
And I understand it's part of a program, but really what I'm saying is, why don't we have our own program if they're coming to our...
Absolutely! That's right, baby.
Policy might be a better word.
I hope you guys can hear.
We want them to be vaccinated, we want them to be tested before they arrive here, that's all. Just asking.
Well, again, if that's something the legislature wants to take up, but if a direct federal program to the state is not directly involved.
So we're going to let them into our state. The state is not directly responsible. We're just going to leave it up to federal government. So that's insanity. Do you need me to get you duct tape so you don't return Kevin, that's Wheeler. So the federal government is going to tell them how many people that the state of New Hampshire will accept.
Go through their shots, to be vaccinated, and all those things. We know how many folks are coming from the southern border.
Oh, people from the southern border? Has anybody... We don't have the information, so apparently we're accepting people from the southern border as well in the state of New Hampshire, people. Breathe, Frank.
I think 5 was the last report we got was that we had 5 people in the state.
And some specific reports, they said, like, I believe, I don't know what they, I think that the work they report, that they actually sent or we can request.
Yeah. It's actually available. available online.
But again, it's a direct request. There's
a public version online, and then we can request a specific report. And we did request one not too long ago. And I don't know that it's specifically the report that we asked for.
But if you look at the data online over the past decade, we've received anywhere between 5 and 25 individuals on any given year, up and down the years. Specifically. Yeah, just starting. We'll receive typically a couple hundred refugees, political refugees. Again, that program's gone on for decades. And it's typically around the same number, maybe 150, 250, depending on, any given year. And I know you are at the forefront of that as the mayor.
Federal government supplying funds on a monthly basis?
You know how the contracts work directly with the agencies in terms of how the dollars are dispersed before the individual?
Speaking directly about our regular refugee resettlement program or anything, which is separate from any other immigration from other
They follow the
borders.
same rules as the resettlement.
I'm sorry, just to clarify your question, Councilor Bethel, just who follow the same rules?
Federal agencies are supplying the folks here.
Our federal
Is, the employee that you have at the state levels, Ms. Sebring, is she still in charge of that?
Yes, Director Barbara Seabart has been here for about 20 years overseeing the program.
Can you get her to come in here and tell us what's happening?
I'm happy. I work closely with Barbara. I oversee the Office of Health Equity and Supervise, and I work closely with her to answer any questions about our program. I mean, we're happy to have Barbara get information, but I'm just not sure what question you're answering.
Can you send a copy of the report that is filed with the federal government and all the councils?
How about the King's language?
Sure.
So the discussion on item 6 through 12, Steve.
Resign.
Seeing none, all in favor of item 6 through 12C, noting that item 12 has been removed, signify by saying aye. Opposed? And all of those items have been approved.
You guys have done a good day. I wanted to thank Commissioner Brown, what you provide on this last year farewell tour. So first of all, here around the state house next year, but I just wanted to introduce in the audience that you know what I just wanted to think about. And I appreciate Commissioner Roundhouse, Virginia's director of the Dark City, using the internship and using the process of state government to be allowed to be able to go through the joint various committees, historical committees to finish this process and to make it a part of her mission statement as we start out with our internships. Thank you.
So moving on, I'd ask for a motion to adopt agenda item 13 from the Department of Public Human Services for the Division of Medicaid Services.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Whitaker.
Yeah, Governor, this contract our agreement is unusual in that it allows for an unlimited number of renewal options thereafter. And so I wanted to know the justification for that, and should that pass, will any renewals come to the governor and council?
This is the intergovernmental transfer with the county government, so I will have Henry come up and speak to that.
Yes, Sage. So what they're saying is the federal government is doing it and the state of New Hampshire isn't doing anything. But they're okay with locking down the people of New Hampshire. People losing their jobs, their homes.
So I think that's why we expect it every year. If we're going to be able to follow the statute, we'll need to come back to you, and we will come back to you every year.
So you will come back. It sounds to me like something we should probably put in the MOP and not have this automatic authorization going forward. But I just wanted to make that comment.
Further discussion on item 13? Okay, Okay, seeing no further discussion, all in favor of item 13, please signify by saying aye. No. Oh, you know what item 13 does pass. And now is our motion to adopt agenda items 14 and 15 for the Department of Health and Human Services for New Hampshire Hospital.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I guess so, Desiree.
Agenda items 16 through 20 from the Department of Health and Human Services from the Division of Economic and Housing Stability.
So moved.
Any discussion?
On item number 20, can you define parameters of how many community health workers?
Yes, I know this is not the only contract that has community health workers, but Chris Vanello or Hebert will be able to give you the number in this contract specifically.
Ladies and gentlemen, while we appreciate your desire to be here this morning,
Oh shit.
you are disrupting the meeting, you will be arrested for disorderly conduct.
So we're going to be arrested for
Define that for us.
disorderly conduct if we disrupt the meeting.
Good morning.
Good morning. There you go.
Doesn't seem
Good morning, Governor and Councilors. My name is Karen Hebert.
We were just threatened.
I'm the Director of the Division of Economic and Housing Stability for the department. I'm trying to look at the information and the answer to that question as to how many additional staff will be.
Sorry. Chris Antonello, Associate Commissioner. Karen and I are still kind of transferring duties. There are 15 family resource centers across the state, and so we are working with the New Hampshire Children's Trust to ensure that there's coverage in each of the family resource centers. So about 12 to 15 community health workers.
Guess they're okay with arresting this woman and her baby. They okay with that?
Further discussion on any of these items 16 through 20?
Friggin'
Okay, hearing
ridiculous.
none. All in favor of items 16 through 20, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on. That's for motion to adopt items 21 through 27F from the Department of Health and Human Services from the Division of Public Health Services.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on items 21 through 27F? Council Wheeler.
So make sure you guys share this video like crazy. The proof's in the pudding right there. You want to talk about corrupt government? That was a great example.
Vaccine bans and personnel issues.
Here we go.
How many vaccinations do you expect to get for this $13.5 million?
We have no way to know that before we start the process. This
Listen
contract
closely.
will be responsible for doing all of our homebound vaccinations. So for our elderly and the infirm that are home, we can't get to a vaccination clinic. They will be doing those. They will be doing stand-up mobile sites across the state. They will be doing boosters. They will be doing first-time shots. So they will be doing all parts of the vaccination. So we can't estimate how many at this point because we don't know what the uptake is going to be on boosters. We don't know what the uptake is going to be on kids getting vaccinated from 5 to 11.
Kids getting vaccinated, 5 to 7, guys. I mean 5 to 11.
Vaccination for a homebound program. This contract will be also taking care of that.
Further questions, Governor?
Sure.
Is this limited to just homebound?
No.
It's not limited to home.
The vaccination programs for on-site is supposed to be mobile clinics that are going to stand up across the state. So pop-up mobile clinics.
Do we have a metrics in place to measure what we're getting for our money? How successful we are with this $13.5 million?
They have to report each vaccination to the Department of Public Health.
And that information would be available publicly?
The number of vaccines, yes.
Just a number, not name.
Yes.
Thank you, Governor.
Councilor Stevens.
In regards to fixed sites, the goal is 5
on number 22, yes. I would have to look at the contract and see what the numbers are specifically. Really, our conversations with on-site is around our needs. So although we may have a minimum of 4 or 5 sites in there, if we have to ramp up and do additional mobile clinics, for example, we did those for elderly housing units and things like that, they're more than willing to stand up and do additional ones.
Councilor Withers? One further question is any of this paid for with the money coming in if 9B or D were passed?
This is FEMA reimbursed. This is FEMA reimbursed.
Okay.
Separate money, federal money.
Yeah.
Separate money.
Still our money.
Yeah. Okay.
On this contract 22, there's been an update. So when you look at these mobile sites for this contract, do you prioritize these sites to those areas?
We're going where the need is. So one of the things that we ask and we keep track of is what the hospitals can handle and what the private sector can handle. So initially, before the surge in Coas County, the hospitals in that area said that they were more than able to handle that surge, the vaccine clinics. Now that they're having a surge, yes, that is exactly what we would do. We know the hospitals are spent, they have staffing issues, they have high COVID numbers, so if we can go up to supplement
Unbelievable.
Okay, I'm going to pause the meeting and ask again that you cannot be disturbing the meeting. By all means, we want the public to participate, but the repeated disturbances are not going to be, we're going to have to ask you to leave, and we want folks to be here, we want the public to participate, but it has to continue, again, allowing the safety of business. Sorry.
So as the hospitalization rates increase in the North Country, that is exactly what this contract would do, is to look and supplement the vaccine clinics in the North Country so that they can come to
She said that Coas County is inundated with COVID patients, and the hospitals have indicated that they can handle it, but they are overstressed and overworked and short-staffed.
We're still on 22.
I can get you that information.
So we've increased from 2.2 million, or whenever this started, to 13 million for 4 months.
The state had initially had over a dozen fixed sites that we were doing vaccinations with the assistance of National Guard. We no longer have those vaccine sites now, and we're relying on our contract services to do all of it.
And
that's what this is.
4 additional sites?
At least 4 additional sites. There will be much more than that as smaller mobile vaccine clinics and the homebound population.
They want to throw us out, so we're not here for the vote.
Vaccinated people in the state of New Hampshire.
We're right around 70%.
So we're doing 13 million for 30%.
We're doing 13 million for 30%, and then you have to
patrolled
add in the boosters
up and down the aisles.
for everybody that got Pfizer, and then we were going to work 70% of the eligible population. So that includes everybody over the age of 12. So very shortly, we're going to see approvals for age 5 to 11. We now have a 3rd booster for Pfizer. We will see a 3rd booster for Moderna. We will also see a 2nd shot for Johnson & Johnson.
Just so you guys are aware, look.
December 31st, on-site is going to manage this. I expect that as we continue to see additional boosters, additional age ranges, we may be coming back for additional money, or we may have to set up sites ourselves. It depends on whether the hospitals can manage the volume that we want.
Here we go, guys. We're just going to turn our backs to all of them.
I can't tell you how many people are going to take the vaccine.
Further discussion? Any of you guys? Councilwoman?
Yes, staying on 22 for now. So it would likely be, and definitely be expected that it is more expensive to deliver vaccines to the homebound, you have to travel there and do one vaccine, then to set up a fixed site, and as with the National Guard, and do many.
Yes, it took us 3, 4, 5 months to do the homebound population, which was in the thousands, a couple of thousand, versus several thousand doses of vaccine going out every day through our fixed.
And once the vaccines are approved for the 5 to 11-year-olds, we no longer have
Vaccines
the
approved,
National
5 to
Guard
11.
sites for them to get vaccinated. So we will be relying on this provider and other contractors to provide these services.
I expect that children aged 5 to 11 that want to get the vaccine, parents want them to have the vaccine, get their vaccine either through a school-based clinic, through the regional public health networks, or through their local pediatrician. There may be some private vaccine clinics that are stood up, but we have a system in place. We do it with our flu vaccine at school-based clinics. So I expect that a lot of them are going to go through a very similar system.
And for assisted living facilities, where I know we were doing private setups, these kinds of setups.
I got my flag waving high in the air.
This contract and probably several other private providers who do assisted livings, nursing homes are doing their own right now, but assisted livings often don't have the medical staff to be able to do these, so they'll contract with, either have the state contract with, or they'll contract privately with a private entity.
Thank you, Governor. I have more questions on 27F, but I just wanted to see if you want to finish.
Yeah, sure. Any questions on this item? Councilor.
Yeah, one further question. What is the spread between vaccinated and fully vaccinated? What do both those numbers look like?
Approximately 65,000 individuals.
As a percentage, if you have it that way, please.
About 7% approximately. We'll get the exact number, but it's approximately 7%.
Yes, I do have those numbers, if you get them to you afterwards, unless Tricia has them.
So the 75% number that you mentioned for Councilor Gatsis, was that vaccinated or fully vaccinated?
That is vaccinated. There's not a large spread between vaccinated and fully vaccinated. It's a very small spread.
So maybe subtract 7% at the moment. Okay, thank you.
70% minus 7 at the most. The eligible population, right? That's a great key point. That does not include up to 12 years old.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you.
Any further questions on this item, or we can always come back. Councilor Warren, do you want to talk about an additional item?
Sure. Commissioner, I'd like to talk about item 27F. This is the family planning contract for the Community Action Program in Belknap and Merrimack counties. I'm glad to see this back on the agenda. I am disappointed not to see the contracts for the remaining providers of Planned Parenthood, Equality, and Lovering. Wondering when and if you expect those contracts to be brought back to the council.
Shouldn't be at the council level now. Talked to the department in the last week or so, and the RFP is currently out. So we do expect to bring new contracts forward around the end of the year.
Will that RFP be retroactive to July 1? That contract?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so we still have providers in our state who are providing services and have been since July 1, have their own financial impact.
Yeah.
And that those providers cover about 80% of all the family planning services delivered in our state. Is that right?
And then I have Tricia come up and confirm that.
So like I said, guys, we have our backs turned towards them.
I will note that
Quiet. We have state troopers all around us. They're just looking between the aisles. Clear the intimidation at a public meeting.
That is unlikely. That would be their contract with the federal government, with the Office of Population Affairs. They will set a term for that contract.
And without these remaining family planning providers, some counties in our state have no family planning clinics, including Sullivan County and Cheshire County.
That is correct.
And the services covered by these contracts include cancer screenings, breast exams, pap smears, STD testing, and treatment and contraceptive therapy. That is true. And the lack of contracts in these areas of the lack of planning services will have negative health consequences for those who need these services. It will result in
They don't arrest this lady for her baby.
teen pregnancies and negative birth outcomes.
Bless you.
I understand that some counselors here have indicated that they needed additional information.
Even this
about
little
these
girl
contracts.
knows.
Have you answered all of the counselors' questions at this point?
We've answered all questions that have been asked to the department.
And still these contracts are not being brought back?
That is correct.
Further discussion on this item or any items as part of 21 through 27F. Open up to guests.
A procedural question. How many times can contracts come before this council? Now, did we say no?
As many times as the governor wants to go on the event.
I would request the governor put the family planning contracts on the agenda at every meeting until they are approved.
We'll be here.
So we're saying that they continue to vote on everything, every time, every meeting, until they're actually approved.
In regards to 2017 and Maximus contract, there's a fee, a one-time go-live charge. We've had an extensive, long-term contract with this provider. Why are we getting
This lady and her baby with her sign, State Trooper, right there on her. She's silently walking.
This particular go-live fee is in reference to this particular activity in which we are working to figure out, work with our data to ensure that folks have had their second dose of vaccine. As the Councilor Wheeler asked earlier, there is a little bit of a spread between first doses and second doses. We know that in the early rollout, there may have been some data that was not captured, and so Maximus is working closely with the department to ensure that those folks get their second doses. And with this, there was some very specific training that was required to ensure that the call center was working with our vaccination program to ensure confidentiality and to understand the technical aspects of this particular task.
Did we ask, try to attempt to negotiate on this price? We did negotiate on that fee.
I'm unaware specifically on this fee, but we did negotiate the overall contract price.
I'm tearful too, Desiree. I'm doing this for my children, I'm doing this for my grandchildren, and I'm doing this for my country.
Probably 3 meetings ago, or the last time we met, or the time before that, but it was clear that we include a contract to pay upfront fees. Love to hear your answer.
The funding for this, they will invoice us when they set up.
Well, there aren't many companies that I know of out there that are public companies. The people will give them a contract if they're paying up front for a setup. It's a setup fee, and we're paying them, whether it's coming back later.
Everybody with their back towards the governor.
I don't believe it is. What the council said no to was an upfront advance payment to set up. What we had talked about was that most of these companies should be able to invest in the upfront costs without us getting an advance payment. So what we did is we changed our tactic with our negotiations so that they are required to do the upfront investment and then invoice the state afterwards their cost to set up programs. This is, I would say, pretty typical to have your costs reimbursed when you're setting up a new program. So we can either do it on a one-time payment, on an invoice, or they can roll it into their monthly invoice. Either way, they're going to have their costs reimbursed, especially when they're setting up new programs in the state of New Hampshire. They have to hire people, do all of those things, maybe rent a building, that type of thing.
I can tell you that I would never approve this contract. You can call it whatever you want to call it.
Oh, yes, yes.
It's still paying for their setup, which is wrong.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Whatever way you want to do it.
So the council is against reimbursing companies for their costs to the contract?
Correct. If they're providing a service and the service is $50, then they should increase their service price to make the accommodations for those setup prices. And that's what most companies that are private companies.
Okay, we're turning around, sitting back down. You can see all the state troopers everywhere.
Integrated into their monthly invoicing instead of a one-time invoice cost after they set up.
I'm not looking at the setup cost at all. You can twist the language, whatever.
I'm not twisting the language, Counselor.
What I'm looking for
Absolutely.
is for them to do business as most companies in this country do. If you want our business, come in and do the service.
Pure intimidation.
When we set up a $50 million MMIS.
Oh my God, Frank didn't even do anything. All right, guys.
We paid for that hardware that built before they bill us.
Teresa and Frank, yes, are being escorted out right now.
Multi-million-dollar. We do pay. So there, I'm just saying there is a precedent here for especially when you're doing the tax system. They put it in, they send us an invoice, we move on. They put it in, and then we get to the monthly billing for the programmatic fees. Yeah, I understand that you can do it, you can try to integrate that, but.
No, I agree. I think that
I gotta make sure the boys are
that we were under during the
taken care
initial
of.
conversation was that the council had a problem with paying money up front before they started the contract. So the way we strategized was that we would have the company pay for those startup fees themselves and invoice them to us either. Shut it down!
All right, so Teresa and Frank are being arrested. They weren't even doing anything. All right. They're arresting. All right, they're arresting everybody. We're going to get all this. You guys share the shit out of this. That man didn't even do anything wrong. Everybody record it. Share this. Share it.
What is wrong? Stop this!
Oh no. Oh no.
That is not okay. That is not okay.
Oh. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
You just stand for the citizens, Sununu. That's against the Constitution.
Oh God.
That was my directive to the commissioner.
You officers are against the
We want to see this in a
Constitution.
different way. I suppose we can go back and ask, we have a lot of contracts to use this year. But that's on me. I thought we were taking, we're getting ready to pre-finish.
Everything's all right. They're just probably going to take her out, sit her in the car.
She's willing to
That is the way we structured it. Now, if they want to, if the council would like us to take all of the startup costs and individual invoices or subsequent invoices, we can do that, but I don't think a lot of companies are going to purchase hardware, buildings, and all the programmatic needs of big $50 million programs and not expect to get reimbursed for it.
This structure is actually very typical.
Oh no, this woman, they're making her get up. She's going to be
They
next.
would probably tell us that with respect to all sorts of finance contracts. And I think the risk of
This older
advancing
woman.
money up front is that we could advance money and then never get the product. But in this case, what the way the department has structured this, we are
Everybody's being arrested,
we are not
Lorianne.
advancing money. They are actually incurring costs and then being reimbursed for costs. So it's sort of a service plus cost contract, which is totally typical, to my understanding, in the industry. Is that correct, Commissioner? Yeah.
Thank you, Governor. I think Commissioner Glenn was saying
Guys, as much as I want to be
we're not providing,
making sure Teresa's kids are okay and whatnot, I want to stand here filming and recording everything.
So there's a difference between people providing the service, which actually has a...
She didn't do anything, Kevin. She did nothing. I literally heard her on video in prayer right before they came over and grabbed her up.
Voting these things down, and when we get something that makes sense, then so be it.
I'm just going to, I know Deputy Commissioner Ken Dunn is here, I know Commissioner's really not, so I'm not putting you on the spot, but just didn't know if you...
Kevin, tell me what you want me to do. Do you want me to go out and get the boys, or you want me staying in and recording?
So, as was stated, it is very typical, especially when there are large investors. We do that programs, especially when there is hardware, software, professional services required. And again, nothing upfront. It's also very typical. I do have concern that the passage to build that into their rate structure over the course of time. And we really only want to reimburse for taxes, not create some kind of a pricing squeeze that.
Hope the governor's happy. My children cry.
We buy a computer system, and we pay somebody up front. Do we have the hardware in hand?
Yeah.
There you go. That's my point. We have the hardware in hand. When we get these people involved, or anybody else, when we pay them up front,
I got it, Kevin.
we have nothing. And if they don't provide a service to one individual, they get paid, and we don't have to, we have no other concern.
My boyfriend Kevin is watching. He's like, "Mom, stay in and record." So I guess somebody's outside with her kids. Yeah, I thought the grandmother took over, or the other grandmother took over, the great grandmother. Let's see if they want to arrest this person in the wheelchair.
This is no different. It's just a different dance or a different song.
I'm happy to change how we do contracts. I need clear direction from the council. My impression was the advance payment was pre-purchase of the service. Now we are doing cost reimbursement. If the council does not want us to do cost reimbursement, then we need that direction to come from the governor's office, and we're happy to implement it.
Well, that's under this council. What's the...
Other thoughts on this? And just to be clear, if we're not going to do cost reimbursement, I don't understand what we're going to do, because it will affect every department in virtually every contract. Like, we're not going to prepayment, we're talking about cost reimbursement. They come to repair the tram at Canyon Mountain, they'll send us an invoice for the new shift that goes into the tower. That's reimbursement of cost. If you don't want that to be done, I'm not sure how we would do it. The shift goes in, we get a bill, we pay the bill. So I gotta be honest, I'm not sure.
A little different, Governor, than looking to provide services to the people in the state of New Hampshire, and somebody getting prepaid without providing any service.
I agree that would be a prepayment, not a cost reimbursement. And maybe we just need to tell the Attorney General and discuss the definition. I don't know if that's it.
And I think this is a discussion that perhaps the council could have when it meets regarding the MOP and other matters, but this contract should move forward as with other contracts on our agenda that require cost reimbursement.
Further discussion?
27F. I applaud moving forward with this contract. I had the chance to speak with the executive director. They depend on the state for 79% of their funding. So I applaud the decision to move forward with this. I have a question for Henry Lippman regarding enrollment, Medicaid enrollment for women in the state of ages 15 to 60.
For the question, Council Stevens, I had prepared that information for you at the last meeting, and I have it with me, but I think we were.
I am not sitting, I am standing, holding my American flag.
18 to 64, and I think it was like 93,000, and went down to 11. You had asked in between these here.
Right. Services that Medicaid is providing, it's everything from prenatal care to breast cancer screenings, correct?
Correct.
With mammography.
As well, yes.
Okay. Women who are eligible for these services in Medicaid.
Yes.
How many providers do we have in the state offering these services?
I think in terms of our total provider network, we have 30,000 individuals, but in terms of provide primary care, it's a smaller number. I think that was 6,000 or 7,000 was the primary care numbers that we provided.
Do you sense that we're doing an adequate job meeting the needs of women in underserved rural areas in the state with our Medicaid program?
I think that the services that are provided.
With Frank collared back, we are being arrested, so I don't know. I'm hoping for the best, Kevin.
Getting the access that they would like to have in terms of timeliness. I think there's some opportunities to improve.
Thank you.
Dr. Warren.
Commissioner, Deputy, across our state, that many of them are being defunded by this council.
I'm not sure, Kevin, but I hope so.
There will be service gaps as a result of that.
Thank you.
Councilor Gatsas.
Thank you, Governor. Do they provide the morning after?
Morning after pill is available at your local pharmacy. So whether, I'm assuming that Medicaid pays for it because it's considered contraception.
So the answer to my question was yes.
I'm going to say yes, without verifying, but I will verify when I get back to the office that I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll follow back up with you.
So we think it's okay for somebody 13 years old walking to one of these clinics to get a morning after pill without parental consent.
A 13-year-old can walk into CVS and get the same pill.
That's not what we're talking about here.
It's the same service, counselor.
Thank you. The answer to my question is yes.
Yes.
Councilor.
Parliamentary inquiry, Governor. So we've had this item, I believe it's the same item as the late item on the agenda for the 29th. And now it's on this agenda as what? Just a separate item. So what is this? Are we doing both or is the late item?
Yeah, the late item, it's not on the agenda, that was removed.
That was approved by the governor of the agency?
Well, this isn't late anymore, but it's 2 weeks later.
Not late, it's just late.
Well,
No, it's just part of the regular
I
agenda.
didn't know a whole agenda was dissolved. I don't know if we've ever done this before, so I just.
Well, if the late item does it before, then it's not late, it's put onto the regular agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, so it's just both, that's my point. Okay, thank you, Governor.
Once again.
Yes, I'll ask the question I've asked in the past. This 27F contract community action program for Belknap and Merrimack counties, they do not provide abortion services. Is that
Correct.
Okay. And so therefore, they would meet the spirit of House Bill 2 law with regards to providing funding
Yeah, Councilor River?
Yeah, so, but to be clear, this is the same as it was a few weeks ago, that someone, a child could go into this clinic and get sterilized without their parental consent, correct? That's in the item.
Thank you for your question. There are current federal regulations around that in our Title X programs, they do not do sterilization for anyone under the age of 21.
So why is it in this contract? It
It
doesn't
is
say that in the contract.
incorporated within the guidelines, within the detail of the contract, it says we shall follow the federal guidelines, and it is within those federal guidelines.
All right, I'd like a copy of that, please.
We will get that for you.
So no, that's not allowed.
Okay. So this organization, 72.9% of their budget comes from the state. The services that they are providing, mammograms,
So I just asked if I could step outside just to ensure that the boys are okay. I just asked that state trooper. He told me he didn't know the answer. I asked him to find out. He did. He came back and said, no, if I step out, I'm not allowed back in.
If the patient needs consultation or follow-up for other types of tests, we would initiate the referral, and this is per the executive director, send records and assist the patient in making an appointment. For example, all pap smears are sent to the lab, the results are returned to the clinic, documented in the log, and if results indicate a need for further follow-up, the provider will initiate this, and by law, mammograms, they do have to send a written confirmation. So what I'm saying, for a small clinic, they're doing incredible work.
For family planning clinic,
I have to be careful about how much I speak, or they will arrest me too.
oftentimes reaching an underserved population that does not have access to primary care, and this is a good example exactly what you talked about with having that follow-up and that primary care follow-up when people go into this family planning clinic.
44% of their patients are eligible for Medicaid. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Okay.
Oh, sure, within the 20, that's 21 to 27, I'm sure, go ahead.
23. When are you going to get from Harbor Homes an audited state?
I was on an email that it was sent to you.
Sorry?
It was sent to the council by Tom Donovan, the charitable foundation. I was copied on that email.
It's not audited. My question was audited state.
So let's ask the Attorney General's office, because that is managed by the Department of Charitable.
Councilor, I believe they provide audited statements at the end of a fiscal year. They don't provide those to us monthly. I don't believe they've been providing those to us monthly. So I know Tom Donovan provided their monthly financial statements for, I believe, August to you on September 27th.
And the only way they met the agreement is that they were using their line of credit.
I know that they had met all ratios. I can't speak to whether it was because they used the line of credit.
Okay. Well, somebody there behind you. Oh, that was.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Meredith Rose from Department of Health and Human Services. They met the ratios to include the line of credit or to exclude the line of credit. There's still over 30 days of cash on hand, which is our contractual requirement.
That's with the line of credit.
Or without. If you remove it, there are still over 30 days of cash on hand.
And why are we going with a 2-year contract instead of a 1 like we have now?
I'm going to have the department director come up and speak to that.
Department Homes has been meeting all of both their fiscal requirements as well as all of their performance requirements. And so we're moving forward with a 2-year amendment at this time.
Further discussion?
I'd like to see somebody other than Tom Donovan and give us an understanding of what these numbers mean. Because first look is they're not meeting their requirements. But that's only my opinion.
Again, we have, I think, Meredith with the Department of Health and Human Services has been tracking the numbers, and I imagine she can answer some of those questions.
Or if you have specific questions, maybe you want to send them directly. Fine.
Do we want to answer them now, or do we want specific questions in writing or an explanation?
Will it come down again?
No.
Or maybe the next time, something from specific questions like we did in non-conference.
Further discussion on any of these items?
The financials are showing that they are within the standards in all 8 categories. So potentially that should alleviate some concerns.
Of course, we can have them submit, or if you have specific questions, always feel free to email either the town director in the Department of Justice or the Commissioner Shipman or even Meredith.
Council, thank you for wherever you're reading that from. I appreciate it. But I'm looking at the numbers.
The numbers are factoring into the ratio.
Oh, we can have, again, if there's specific questions, we can answer them, or we can have Tom and the team come in and talk about it. Either as part of this meeting or a breakfast meeting, whatever. Further discussion on items 21 through 27. Robust discussion. That's a lot. Okay, all in favor of items 21 through 27F, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No on 23, no on 27A, no on 27E, no on 27F.
No. I'll let you write it down.
Yeah, sure.
No on 22, 24, 27E, and 27F.
Anyone else in opposition to any of these contracts? Hearing none, all the contracts are approved. Moving on, I'll now ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 28 through 38C from the Department of Health and Human Services. From the Division of Behavioral Health, please note that item 33 is not being given.
So moved.
Any discussion? Start by 28 through 38C. Okay, hearing no discussion. We have one from Council Stevens, sir. Bear with me for a moment. A lot of paper.
My question pertains to contract items number 28 and 31. So contract 28, it is exclusive to Mary Hitchcock, which has facilities in Lebanon, Concord, Manchester, Nashville, and Toulouse. There is no care or treatment on the C list in D3. And looking forward at contract number 31, again, I'm seeing Dartmouth Hitchcock again. With another provider, similar care, similar treatment, but again, no representation for providers or access to care in D3.
All right, Kevin, I just got confirmation Therese and Frank have been arrested. They are taking them to Merrimack County, from my understanding, by another freedom fighter.
September 15th, you approved the contract with Bi-State Primary Care Association. Within that contract, these same services were approved, and Bi-State subcontracts with Amistad in Manchester, Lamprey, which is in your district, with 2 locations, and Mid-State in Plymouth. And so it is confusing because we have MAT services in several different contracts. What we are doing as a result of the different funding sources, we're going to be contracting going forward with some of these by service rather than by funding. So the funding that you see here is with state opioid response funds, and some of the others are with governor's commission funds, CISA funds, and general funds. We want to eliminate the funding driving the contract, have the service drive the contract, and then have the funding follow and pull it all together. So it's not confusing, it's not broken up into different contracts. So toward that end, we're going to be putting out a RFP, request for proposals, so that hopefully in the future, you'll see it all brought together, and you'll see statewide coverage, and we'll be able to show that on a map and demonstrate that indeed your district as well as the other districts are being served.
Could you confirm that in D3 at this time, there is non-care map for women?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
At this time, within District 3, there is not a provider or service a hospital providing medicated assisted
So I've literally watched people come in and out, in and out, in and out, but I was told that I wouldn't be allowed back in if I go out.
By state that you will approve on September 15th. Also, there are providers that don't have contracts that are providing MAT services, medication-assisted treatment, for individuals with opioid use disorder. And so Sequel Mental Health is one that provides that, as well as Goodwin, the FQHC Families First in your region.
Could I get an inclusive list of all the providers?
We will do that. We have a website, which is our treatment locator, and that also lists, if you go in and put in different zip codes, that will list every provider that provides this service in your region and across all the regions of the state. And those include individual providers, not just the organizations such as the FQHC.
Thank you.
If you could provide that before you say to all the council, that would be very helpful. Sorry. Councilor Kenny.
So I'm looking at your DHC. It's retroactive. It's not sole source. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
So we did not do an RFP because there is only a handful of people that are certified through the Contractual CCI Institute, and we're Livingston, including Professor State, is one of the only person in New Hampshire that is certified to do that. So if we did not go with Clinton State, we would have to go with Clinton State. No. Critical time intervention is geared towards aftercare after a psychiatric hospitalization. It's a 9-month fidelity
So I'm standing on the back wall now, because I was just standing in these people's way the whole time.
So it's a very evidence-based practice that is being implemented around the state. It's one of the new programs that we're implementing to reduce hospitalization in psychiatric care and to prevent characteristics. So CTI, critical time intervention, like I said, is known across the country, and we just happen to have CTI expert in our backyard as a result of the state. So we were very happy to actually contract with them.
Further discussion? Councilor
6:30 about 8 p.m. The items are approved. We are approaching the kind of 2-hour mark, so I think we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. We know this meeting could go on a little longer, so we want to give everyone a chance to stretch their legs. We'll be back 5 minutes on, and we'll be right back. So stay at 5 minutes. Thanks.
All right, so they're taking a 5-minute break, 5-minute recess, if you will. And I've confirmed that Teresa's 2 young boys are outside with their grandmother. They are safe, they are fine. I have also been informed by another patriot that Therese and Frank were arrested. I don't know about the other people that were taken into custody. I don't know if they're just being detained or if in fact they have been arrested. I'm a little bit worried because I'm afraid if I go outside. So they were arrested. They're bringing Brett. I don't know. I have it all on. I'm live. So they. So I don't know. I have it all. Literally, Therese was sitting there, with her hands in prayer, and Frank wasn't saying any. Nobody was saying anything. They just walked over, and I have a feeling that their whole goal was to get out anybody that potentially they didn't want here for the vote. And so they were just looking for any reason. I mean, they were literally doing nothing. Yes, exactly.
And they went and got a couple more people.
Yep. Nothing that I could see. I mean, if somebody was doing something, then they must have been silent while they were doing it because there was there was nothing going on. Absolutely. Intimidation has been a thing since we've been here. Literally, they are patrolling up and down the aisles of these seats, pacing back and forth like drill sergeants. Clear intimidation has been happening this whole time.
That lady with the white shirt, she's got a list of what they're going. They got 30 more things to address before that.
So they have, okay, so I get apparently, great. So apparently there's another 31 items to go. And before they even address the concerns of the $27 million, which, clearly means we're in this for the long haul, guys. I don't know if I'll be able to stay live the whole time. I'm going to try like heck. I'm also going to try to go outside and see if I can find anything out. And hopefully I'm let back in because everybody else is. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, I just asked them. I asked them if I was able to leave for just a second, so I had to go to the car to grab a couple things. She's like, we can't leave the building. Once you leave, you can't come back in.
All right, so apparently, well, do they offer water or anything for anybody?
I don't think so. That's why I was going out to the car to grab some
So
water.
we can't go out and get water and then come back in?
They won't even let you. I just
To a public hearing?
I know. It's ridiculous.
I think that is insanity.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Where the lady, the organizer, been arrested?
I did. I let Kevin know. Apparently, they don't provide water or anything here.
With longer hair?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, where are they being held?
What did they do? They didn't do nothing. Just like that older lady.
Let's go protest these shitheads, where they're being held.
And they hold on her, and she really didn't do much of anything.
We've been live the whole time, so it's all recorded. We have everything.
That was unlawful what they just did. They pinpointed her. Yeah, they did. They tried to take her out because they think she's a leader of all of us. But that's not the case. We're weak people.
No one's they're just more vocal.
I know.
Everybody's
But she wasn't at that moment though. I know.
Are they being taken to like the county or? Yeah.
She's been reporting, so.
Well, I took the day off, so I want to look up
She
everything.
wrote back, she was being arrested.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Kevin. So we're being denied the right to leave and come back for a public hearing. And what I wanted to do was go get my water. However, the state troopers are being provided water.
So what's the deal with this guy?
So
What's the deal with that guy right there? Is he like a rhino? Is he a rhino?
he's an investigator. His name is Dick Tracy.
So is he part of the uniparty? He pretends to be kind of conservative, but he was one of those conservatives who got side with this child molester.
You can absolutely have a conversation with
stuck
him.
Up for this guy? Yeah, I don't think snipping little girls' hair is appropriate. But, I mean, it's been such a wonderful presidency we've had.
I really wanted
Everything's
water.
falling apart. Just wait another couple months.
I'm sure thirsty. Our crowd is slowly dwindling, guys, between the people that they put fear in and the people that they have arrested. Don't get me wrong, we're still strong. We're still strong, but yeah, it's crazy.
Now, are you the one who's seeing the videos?
Probably.
Okay, my wife watches it all. She's the one that's like, you have to go there today. She's like, she works in the hospital. She's like, I have nobody to cover for me, so I have to go to work.
Oh, you're probably speaking about Therese.
Oh, that's it, Therese.
Yeah, Therese. Therese was arrested a few minutes ago.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes, several people were arrested or detained.
I saw they were taking women and children first.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
This is crazy.
Yep. Apparently, we're not being allowed entry back in if we step out. I'm really thirsty. I've been here for a long time.
I was going to go outside for these roasting.
Yeah.
So they won't let you back in.
So right. So they're providing water and stuff for the state troopers. There's no fountains. I just wanted to go get my water and come back, but if I do, I'll be denied entry. So.
And then they're going to leave this one that everyone's here for to the very end.
Right. So there's 31 more articles before we even get to the ones that we want. And absolutely, they will hold it to the end.
Yeah, I figured I'd be out of here by 11 o'clock. It's 12 now.
There are other people recording, not faces that I completely recognize, however. So, I mean, I'm sure we could get the footage one way or another, but it wouldn't be anybody that I could tell you who to connect with, Desiree. All right, guys, so kind of a recap. Just for the people who came on late or whatever, we're here at NHTI, the governor's public hearing for the $27 million for the state of New Hampshire that come with a lot of strings attached. Strings that include enforcing any of Biden's mandates that get brought down, enforcing isolation and quarantine for the state. You're hearing many articles that are are going on. A short time ago, they were discussing Planned Parenthood. You heard them speak to the toll booths and what they want to do. They're requiring, or they're asking that everything go electronic, so you'd no longer be able to use funds, any money, at the toll booths. And somehow they linked that to COVID. But we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people and a child get taken out by state troopers. I can confirm that 2 were arrested. I've been recording live this whole time. Literally nothing was occurring. During that time, the state troopers literally just walked right up to them, asked them to stand up. They weren't doing anything wrong, and escorted them out. Kind of, actually, I'll show you. See, there's like this curtain, kind of like, when you're in the hospital, they pull the curtain between the rooms. So they brought Therese and Frank behind there. Frank was hollering out at that point that he was being arrested unlawfully. They committed no criminal acts. They were literally sitting the row in front of me while the hearing was going on. Matter of fact, I believe I had just zoomed in on Therese, and she had her hands up and she was praying. So I guess if praying is a crime in the state of New Hampshire, then she was committing a crime. But other than that, nothing was occurring. Frank was quiet, and they literally just walked up. And anybody that said anything in regards to that, actually, I'm surprised I wasn't arrested, literally got dragged off as well, including a young mother and her child. Okay, this is where this is at. This is insane. We're not allowed to leave. If we leave this area, we're not allowed back in. I'll show you guys. If we leave through those doors right over there, we're not allowed back in. So I'm extremely thirsty. Not knowing how the meeting was going to go, I didn't bring anything in to drink. I knew that we'd probably have, some kind of recess. But apparently we're not allowed out. I just want to make sure everything's good there. Apparently we're not allowed out. I am thirsty. I would like something to drink, but if I do go out, I'm not allowed back in to the public hearing. So public is literally being told, if you go out, you're not allowed to come back in. I could see it if it was after the hearing, started after the break. I can understand that. However, during recess, we're not allowed out and back in. That's insanity. I am going to continue to stand on the back wall. That way I can make sure that I have full coverage, that I'm being able to record. All the state troopers are coming back in now. And my concern is, with everybody facing forward and me on the back wall, that, if they, I guess, decide randomly that I'm the next to go, that they're going to try to escort me out quietly without anybody seeing. But don't worry, I won't be making lots of noise.
To adopt agenda item 39, the Department of Health and Human Services from the Governor's Commission on Alcohol and Other Drugs. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of item 39, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed?
now ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 40 and 41 from the Department of Health and Human Services for the Division of Long-Term Support and Services. Long-Term Support and Services. Any discussion?
Commissioner, we're seeing a reduction in funding of 4%, or no, they're indicating that there was a 4% reduction of
Right, guys.
being served from July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. So we're being.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Another one going down. He's going to bring her out. Here we go again.
They're not letting anybody else in. We're keeping people out. It's a public fucking hearing.
She brings a valid point. Valid point, people. Literally picking this off one by one.
But the need is there, correct? The need is absolutely there, and there are a number of things that are being done at the federal level as well as the state level in terms of bolstering our direct support workers. No opportunity to renegotiate or? Not with this particular grant. This is the Federal Social Services Block Grant, which was at the federal level.
Yeah, that's her husband.
Really what this contract
Boyfriend, I don't remember. I think husband.
Down utilization, which was low anyway, so it's just getting at the right numbers that would be served in these two contracts. It doesn't seem to reflect the needs of the state. Understood. Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Additional questions on either of these items? Okay, hearing none, all in favor signify. All in favor of items 40 and 41, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Items are approved. That concludes the Health and Human Services regular agenda items. We also have two single items, 9B and 9B. I'll begin by.
They're voting on 9 now.
Items 9B and 9D from the Department of Health and Human Services from the table.
Remove item 9B and 9D from the table.
Motion second, all in favor of removing the items from the table, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And those items are included. Now ask for a motion to adopt agenda items 9B and 9D.
So moved.
There shall be a discussion among the others. At least a second for discussion. Okay, so a motion and a second. I will obviously there's a lot of interest in these two items. I'm going to ask the Attorney General to come up and talk about a few different items, but for the record, just to be extremely clear, items 9B and 9D are a series of federal funds to the Department of Public Health Services. There's misinformation and discussion of the language in these contracts.
17 state police in here in this room, and then all the ones that are outside.
To clarify what some of this language meant, it is language that this council has seen and approved before. It is language similar to other federal funds that have come into the state before. This is not the first time we've seen
to the governor.
Any of this language. So, again,
I am going to turn my back as well. Bear with me, guys.
For the record, today the state has literally received billions of dollars in support from the federal government for management of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I guess the three summary items that you have here, Mr. Attorney General, and again, you can elaborate further if you'd like. What you're providing to the Executive Council is the understanding that the language that appears, that has been questioned, that is in question, it is language that has already been approved in previous contracts, correct?
Yes.
So this is nothing new. This is not a first time. And it's been done with money in terms of managing the pandemic.
Yes, that's correct.
And is it Commissioner, are you understanding that it's likely that we'll see similar language in the future? There's no reason to think that this is going to be the last of the state.
Yes, we expect that.
And to be very clear, the language, again, if you can elaborate, that has been provided and that's in question, does not bind the state to any broader sweeping federal mandates. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So if the Biden administration were to put forth this OSHA mandate, this language doesn't force us to capitulate to that. It does not impede on our sovereignty as a state or impede on our ability to manage the COVID pandemic exactly as we see fit, as we've done for the past 18 months.
That's correct.
Officers are collaborating up front, so I'm kind of keeping an eye on who is going next.
So last week, there was an understanding that the information that you were going to provide was attorney-client privilege information, and that this was information that was going to be brought before government counsel. So, I received something from the governor's office. It was Thursday afternoon saying that I'd be okay with releasing client privilege information that you provided.
We have our backs turned towards the governor while they're speaking online.
So I really didn't get a chance to give your opinion until late Friday afternoon. So, but apparently this was released to the press, this information that we had provided to the government counsel. So I just wanted to know, as far as who had the releasing authority, and is it the government counsel that releases this, or what context do you think that he was supposed to release this information?
I'm gonna turn around just so I can see everything.
Yeah, so there's a couple things I think to explain there. The first, and to the extent there was sort of miscommunication, I do apologize. The first issue that we in our office were looking to clarify was whether the council ever intended this to be attorney-client privilege in the first place. I had had an understanding when we discussed this item 2 weeks ago that you would want an opinion that would be available publicly. When we sent the council the memo, it became apparent to us that there was some potential disagreement on that, so we went for clarification. I think different folks had different understandings. So that's why we were then asked if we would waive the privilege. That said, the governor and council is a unique body. The governor and council can act as the governor and council. The governor can also act on his own. And so in this instance, the opinion was sent really to the council. It was also sent just to the governor. Because of that, the governor had the ability to waive the attorney-client privilege. In addition to that, this was a unique circumstance in which this advice was being requested not just by the counselors, not just by the governor, it was being requested by other state officials, it was being requested by individual members of the legislature, and by officials who work for the legislature. Because of that, there is individual members of the legislature don't hold the same type of privilege with our office that the legislature as a body does, or the governor as a state official does, or the councilors do. Because of all of that, I made the determination that the governor had the authority to waive the privilege as to the opinion that went directly to him, and that this opinion needed to be. The general has the discretion at times to make an opinion public if there is enough public interest in the question of what the law means. So all those factors went into my conclusion to release the memo. But the governor absolutely has the authority to waive the privilege as a body, and that's why the privilege is also.
Again, these are all the people that have their back turned towards the governor while they're speaking on the bill. I was, but I decided with the state police patrol that I am going to make sure that I am video recording everything just in case things are to go down again. I want the Patriots to have the protection of footage.
There was an email from one of your staff who put the words into my mouth that was totally inaccurate, saying that we had checked in with 30 people on the council and we find that we didn't have approval to release the information. And so he notified these things going forward. We need to be crystal clear. You are legal counsel. You might be releasing what we don't. And obviously we try to release everything.
They're discussing the issues that we have with the bill and the $27 million. So, section number 9.
I just think that I kind of walked away with our face because the media was calling me about it, and I said, I'm not even ready. I didn't know what was released.
To be very clear, Counselor, I asked my attorney, the Attorney General, for that opinion, and I cannot need approval from the Executive Council to release the opinion that is directed to me. You guys can do what you want with it, legislators can do what they want with it, but I don't need you just to decide what my office releases. That is my request. You had your request, I had my request.
So, Governor, I appreciate your comments, and you have that authority. I'll make a motion that we release the attorney-client privilege information that we asked the Attorney General to provide for us.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine, because this is, I guess, the governor and council is supposed to just the governor releasing the provision. So it would be in order. You're okay.
Council wants to do that, that's fine. All in favor of releasing the document for attorney-client privilege, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The council is now officially released the document. So a couple things, and then we can open up the question. There is a lot of discussion about how these contracts would relate in any way to the private mandates from hospitals to their healthcare workers. Does approving or disapproving these contracts have any effect on the state's ability to manage any sort of mandates in private hospitals? No. So whether these are voted up or down, that does not change whatsoever. No. In terms of the Biden administration mandates, just to be clear, I've been repeatedly clear, I think you've been repeatedly clear, when these OSHA-driven rules come out, have we discussed implicitly that the state will sue the Biden administration over his attempts at federal mandates?
Yes, and we do plan to do that.
And do acceptance of this contract at all infringe on our sovereignty to push back on the federal mandate?
No, I do not believe so.
Commissioner, have you heard of any other states, Florida, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, any other states rejecting this money for any reason whatsoever?
No, I haven't.
And is your understanding that every state in the country is offering these same dollars?
Yes.
So we'd be the only state in the country to reject these dollars?
Based on my knowledge today, yes.
Okay. With that, I just want to make sure that the clarity of the Attorney General's statement and opinion in this office is okay. Again, accepting or rejecting these contracts has no bearing on what happens at the hospital. Accepting or rejecting these contracts has no bearing on whether we will, if we do, intend to sue the Biden administration over the potential OSHA mandate. They haven't written the rules. There are other governments across the country that will join us in that lawsuit. We intend to join them as well. With that, I can open up the question.
So we've heard what rejecting these contracts does not affect or
Can you guys hear better now?
Let's talk about what the effect of rejecting these contracts would be. Can you please explain what this money will be used for?
Sure. So 9B, we have almost $1 million budgeted to go to contract for regional public health networks. So just to clarify statement, this is just accepting the federal money. When we go out to contract for all of these dollars, those contracts will have to come back in front of the council as first individual services. So you will have to approve the contracts that are awarded under these dollars if approved. So almost $1 million, 90, almost city of Manchester, the city of Nashua, and that's the expectation of where these contracts are going to go if we accept this money.
Can you tell us about the negative outcomes if we do not accept this money?
A lot of our COVID vaccine response from a state response point of view depends on this money. So it doesn't
Can
mean
you
that
let me know if they can hear better?
It's going to be available through the healthcare system, which right now is struggling with staffing and struggling with their census. So in addition to taking care of people, a very high volume of healthcare patients, their COVID patients, and having a decrease in staff, they will bear the brunt of needing to vaccinate everybody.
So is there another source of funding that you could use if we did not accept this money to provide these same services?
I don't know that.
Will this money be used to give booster shots to those who want them in our community?
Yes, the money that's allocated to go to the Regional Public Health Network would be used to do third dose boosters and also used to do some school-based clinics for kids. So that's approved. It's a variety of different uses.
So we heard earlier that 70% of Granite Staters have chosen to be vaccinated. If we don't accept this money, we will make it more difficult at a minimum for those people to receive their booster shots. Is that right?
That is correct.
And why is it so important to get as many vaccinated as possible?
To reduce the transmission risk, the community transmission, and to prevent serious illness and hospitalization and death for some people, specifically those that are elderly and infirm in our state.
And will vaccinating also allow our schools and our businesses to continue to run?
Absolutely.
So turning down this vaccination or this money really denies most Granite Staters who want them access to vaccination.
It denies them easy access to the vaccination. They would likely be able to get access through a primary care office, but those primary care offices would be inundated and not be able to provide health care and vaccination efforts together. I think one of the issues that we hear a lot around this issue is, I'm not going to get COVID and I'm not going to go to the hospital, or I won't need to access physician services. But the reality is that whether you have COVID or not, your ability to access healthcare services in any state right now across the nation is impacted because a heart attack or a stroke, you have the same ICU bed as someone that has COVID. So increased COVID rates and increased hospitalization rates, increased rates of serious illness impacts everybody's ability to access good quality state health care.
Is there anything in any of these contracts that you will be entering into that will force someone to receive a vaccine if they do not want it?
No.
Further discussion? Councilor Willis?
Thank you, Governor. Between those who have vaccinations and those who have natural immunity from COVID, what is the pool, size of the pool of people that are left?
We don't know that.
We don't know.
We know what it's going to cost to give accessibility to everybody in the state, but not everybody that has had COVID has had a positive test for COVID. Some people, especially early on in the pandemic, where we didn't have the ability to test everybody, we told people with mild illness, stay home, self-isolate, do those things. So we have no way of knowing without doing full spectrum antibody testing on everybody in our state how many people have natural immunity or vaccine immunity for COVID.
So every night on the TV, there's numbers. So many people have COVID in New Hampshire. You don't keep track of those numbers to know who has COVID and who doesn't?
Of course, yes, we keep track of how many people have had COVID in New Hampshire.
So what is that number?
Approximately 125,000.
Yeah.
So of that 125,000, how many of those are vaccinated and how many have natural immunity?
We have a percentage of breakthrough infections that I can get you those exact numbers for people that are vaccinated and go on typically what you see is a milder infection when you have a breakthrough infection. But I don't have the exact number of how many breakthrough cases we had for vaccinated people with VR.
And if I may, nor do we pick up the phone and call all 125,000 people and ask them if they're getting the vaccine. If that's what you're implying, that would be wrong.
That's wrong, but collecting the names mandatorily of those who are vaccinated is not just as wrong?
There's a law, sir. There is a law in the state of New Hampshire that we have to comply with, a law that all 49 states, Florida, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, South Dakota, every one of those states has a vaccine registry, and no one in those states is saying it's a violation of their civil rights in any way. So every single state, every conservative state and liberal state has that. We have a law that requires us to do that. If the legislature wants to change that law, that is up to the legislature, of course. But the commissioner and her department are following through with the law, as they have to, by law.
I'm very familiar with the registry. I was chairman of the Senate Health and Human Services Committee in 1998 and fought the mandatory registry then. There should be a will, and I think we're not hearing the people. They don't want a mandatory registry. They don't want their private health information going to the government. And they have that right not to have that happen. And we ought to be advocating for that and not just turning and blaming the legislature or kicking the can to another group of people. And we should not be funding these items until we get a registry that is voluntary. And until we track and know the facts. We talk about science all the time, but we ignore the fact that people have natural immunity from already having COVID. We ignore it so much we don't even want to keep track of it. That's just wrong. And then handing out millions of dollars and not doing it the right way. I just can't support this article, this item.
Again, if you have just said you want to track everyone that has COVID. No, that is not what the state is going to do, because many thousands of people potentially had COVID and were never even tested for it. So the only way to do that is to start picking up the phone and going door to door. The state is not doing that, sir.
I didn't ask for their names.
You said we should track it.
You should track how many COVID cases you have so you know what reality is. You have a rough idea of how many people have natural immunity.
We have 125,000 people, many of which have gotten this vaccine, some of which haven't. We don't keep track of that.
The only way to track the people that have natural antibodies is to do an antibody test on each person in the state.
We don't even make that option available before we tell them they're going to lose the job. People out there are angry, and rightfully so.
The state government is telling no one to lose their job. The state government has no state-driven mandate. And that is misinformation. You can't be...
Will you stand up with the government of Texas and tell private business they can't fire people?
You want the government to tell private businesses who to hire and fire. That isn't even socialist. That is completely un-American, sir. Because when does it stop? You have to hire this person, you have to fire that person when they're not a protected class. We have laws for that. And so now, I ran a business, I had 800 employees. I can't imagine if the state came in and told me who I had to hire and fire.
That's Wheeler.
That's un-American, frankly. Those are private businesses. The state government has no mandated vaccine. We don't mandate it for our employees, we don't mandate it for our entities at all. That is pure misinformation. So I'm going to push back on that every time.
I will just respectfully disagree, Don.
You disagree with the law of the state?
I disagree that we should not be stepping out and saying it's wrong to fire people if they don't take the
We might not agree
vaccination.
with it, but let's be clear. Councilor Wheeler's position is the government should determine who is hired and fired by private businesses.
My position is that these people are protected by the Constitution.
For a job, the Constitution does not protect people, demand that government provide a job for everyone. That is not a constitutional protection. And a private business there are certain laws that say under a protected class you cannot fire certain people for certain reasons. Vaccination is not one of them at all. It has never been for 100 years.
Thank you for putting that on the table.
So, Governor, just to follow up on that, when someone doesn't get vaccinated at a place of employment and they lose their job, they're dismissed, which we know that's happened quite a bit across New Hampshire. At that point, they're ineligible to apply or to receive unemployment benefits because they've been dismissed because they weren't vaccinated. Isn't that the government telling that that particular private entity or that business that you can't get, that employee can no longer get unemployment benefits at this point?
No, that has been the law of the land, and that has been the situation because businesses have retained the right to ask for a vaccination for decades. And that has been the law within unemployment. So everyone wants to go back to back to pre-COVID ways. This is the law that has been on the books for ages. If you're saying that the legislature should go and change the law just because of COVID, or I should institute a state of emergency again, we're not going to do that. So this has been the law for decades. Why would we change it now?
Well, the only time I've ever been required in my life to be vaccinated is when I joined the U.S. military. Of course, you give up your rights when you join the military, at least a good portion of them. But I was never asked to be vaccinated in any other type of employment that I've had here in the state of New Hampshire. Obviously, we're living in very unique times. It's very difficult for everyone. But the legislature really needs to get it going and start fixing these things, because a state that was lacking an employment workforce prior to the pandemic is surely losing out even more on the employment workforce in New Hampshire, because they're frankly saying, we've had enough, we're not going to go and work because we're not going to abide by the vaccine mandate. And suddenly, the ones that were in healthcare are now trying to be correctional officers because they don't require a vaccine. We've got a workforce crisis in this state, and we have to be a little bit sympathetic to the people who work hard in this state and making sure that we can provide some type of compromise and solution that people can move forward with their daily lives and have a job and to provide for their families.
Let's be very clear. We don't want a single nurse, a single doctor to have to. We don't, and that is not something the government has a say on. These are private hospitals. The government cannot tell a private hospital, they're not government-run hospitals. If the one government-run hospital, that New Hampshire hospital, there's no vaccine mandate there, but private entities, you want the government to force them to hire and fire people. And by the way, if I may, Commissioner, have vaccine mandates been in place with private hospitals and healthcare institutions prior to the COVID pandemic?
Yes, as a registered nurse, I've been required to be vaccinated on measles, mumps, rubella, hepatitis, tetanus, influenza.
And if I may, are all of those individuals told about the potential requirement upon employment?
Yes, you're either required to show your evidence of vaccination of all of those things, or get titers done to see if your antibody levels are high enough to protect yourself, your peers, and your patients.
We don't want to see anyone have to leave healthcare. We absolutely have a workforce crunch. But one of the most important roles of an executive is to know the limits of their overreach, which is exactly why we will sue Joe Biden, because he's changing rules, overreaching his limits as an executive, and infringing upon the state's rights as it pertains to the OSHA mandate. But to say that as a governor, because I don't want a nurse to be fired, that I should just with a sweep of a pen change all the rules around and potentially create massive problems down the road. As soon as you open Pandora's box for the government telling a business who they can hire and fire, you can imagine what will happen when someone else isn't sitting here, or the next governor, or the next governor, or the next governor. That Pandora's box can never be closed. And now government is telling businesses how to run their business. That isn't even socialism. That's actually pure communism.
Well, I wasn't talking about
very careful about what you're
how a business was
implying.
meant to run its business and what to tell its employees. I was strictly talking about unemployment compensation. Now, when we talk about the vaccines that nurses are required to receive, that's not based off of emergency use authorization. That's something that is a standard vaccine that's well known and that has been field tested for many, many, many years. This is something that is highly experimental, that is not FDA approved.
Yes, it is.
It is
Why is it FDA approved? That is misinformation.
You're telling me that all the vaccines that are out there to offset the COVID has been approved?
But Pfizer's approved, and they have every ability to get the Pfizer vaccine. There's no lack of that. So they have every ability to get a fully approved vaccine. No one is prohibited from that if that's their choice. If they say, I don't want an experimental vaccine, then they can go to the fully FDA approved one and get that too. Which is why no healthcare facilities required the COVID vaccine while it was in emergency use. Again, that's a disturbance. We're gonna have to take pause.
It's already happening.
regional public health networks, there are 13 within the state. These health networks are poised to assist with implementing the proposed services within the ED. What other services do these regional networks provide? We know that they are dependent on $1 million in funding, as well as the cities of Manchester and Nashua are depending on $120,000 for vaccinations for children who have lagged in receiving them due to COVID.
Yeah.
What other services are they providing?
I mean, our regional public health networks are like the spokes of our overall state public health network. They provide flu clinics. Right now, they are very busy providing flu clinics to both kids and adults. It's one of the things they do. Our bigger, well-organized public health networks like Manchester and Nashua, they have a more robust programming where they're doing population health, community health, immigrant refugee health, really focusing in on different communities that live in poverty and trying to change the outcomes for those people. So they're really, it depends on how much funding they have and what part of the state, but they're really the branches of our public health strategy across our state to reach vulnerable people.
Thank you. Follow-up. Staffing issues at DHHS. Data is showing that in some of your departments, you're down. There's a shortage of sometimes 30 to 40%. Across the state, 20% is the average, and we know that 9% is acceptable. We're seeing an increase in dependence on providers, or excuse me, personnel with our contracts. Could you add to that?
Sure. So during COVID, when we were unsure of what our finances were going to be at DHHS and the state overall, we went into a hiring freeze for 8 or 9 months. So automatically coming out of that hiring freeze, we were down below where we typically were when it comes to vacancies. We've done a variety of things around recruitment. You'll see we have an RFP that was released last week. That's not just for DHHS, it's for all healthcare workforce across the state. You'll see a contract, hopefully see a contract coming before this council in the coming months around recruiting healthcare workforce for the state of New Hampshire, every provider, hospitals, nursing homes, home care, direct service providers for people with disabilities, everybody. So we are doing that recruitment. We are trying to support our colleges and our community colleges and our universities and getting their nursing programs up, providing preceptor sites, all of those internship programs. We're doing all of that, I think, but we're in the same place as what the healthcare workforce looks like across the state right now.
Thank you. In regards to the funding of $27 million, do you foresee the state using all of those dollars? Do you think it's appropriate or excessive?
7%.
Definitely not excessive. I do see us using all of those dollars to provide accessibility to vaccine for the people that want them.
Our nursing homes are now turning out to be our fragile sector. We've gone from daycares to nursing homes. Staffing is a big problem. Now we're seeing long-term care facilities are up for sale, and it may be solely for the real estate. They may not continue as long-term care facilities.
Nursing homes have probably been the industry hardest hit throughout this pandemic, both when it comes to COVID numbers, loss of staff, loss of residents, all of those things. I think they have been by far the hardest hit industry. I think there was some relief over the summer. We saw our outbreaks go down in nursing homes, the number of deaths in nursing homes go down. We're starting to see that creep back up a little bit. Not at the levels it was pre-vaccine at all, but we are starting to see some breakthrough infections in long-term care, which makes sense because it's been 9 to 10 months, which is why we are giving that third dose, and we're making that the priority population in our state to give that third dose. The people over 65, the healthcare workforce, EMTs, fire, police, all of those people really prioritized because they were early on in the vaccine program where they were in 1A, 1B, and now we're ready for boosters, and we want to keep those rates down.
Thank you.
Further discussion? I'm going to go to Council Warren, and then I'll come to you, Council. Okay.
So just to be clear, we've heard a lot of talk today about issues that really don't relate to the money that we're talking about here. We cannot forget that this is truly a public health question. And rejecting these funds would impede people who want to get the vaccine or boosters to readily access them. It would place additional burdens on our already stressed healthcare system and our healthcare workers. It would delay our recovery from this pandemic, and it would prevent the full recovery of our businesses and our schools, and we would fall behind our neighboring states in recovering both economically and from a public health perspective. Is that right? That is correct. Thank you.
Kenny?
No, thank you. I just wanted to clarify a statement I made earlier. So the emergency use authorization was approved by FDA. But I do want to point out, we just gave you $2 million, correct? For the mobile clinics for COVID vaccinations?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. And we are giving you $11 million for long-term care in the upcoming contract for our nursing homes around the state. Is that correct?
Sorry guys, I got 5% left.
To enhance their staffing and.
I just heard about employment issues in the nursing homes.
Yes.
So we are giving you $11 million,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. I did have a question to the Attorney General in regards to the opinion, and I think it really has to do with the last portion of it, the third item. And I really need to get a clarification on this because you mentioned it limited to quarantine isolation. This also does not have an apparent overlap to announce the vaccine mandates. There have not been yet been any quarantine or isolation orders from the federal government related to COVID-19. What did you mean by this does not have, quote, an apparent overlap? The word apparent is kind of, it's an operative word, so can you kind of explain that?
Yeah, you mean an apparent overlap with the announced vaccine mandates from the administration.
Okay.
I think apparent doesn't even need to be in there. There is no overlap between potential quarantine or isolation orders and what the administration has announced they're intending to do with, for instance, the OSHA, the new vaccine mandate for employers, 100 employees or more.
And currently the CDC has not recommended any isolation or any type of quarantine order.
They have not mandated anything, no.
But they do have the capability under this contract.
I would take the position no. I mean, the contract references potential federal isolation or quarantine orders, but I do not believe that that language would require the state to enforce orders like that.
Nor would the state enforce any order like that. Ever.
Yeah, and the question of whether we would, frankly, would ultimately be decided by me, and we would never do that as the chief law enforcement officer.
Okay. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Governor, I have a couple more questions, maybe for you or maybe for the AG. I'm not sure which. But do you think the new constitutional amendment, right to privacy, that we passed just a few years back, would change whether the vaccination registry can be mandatory? Because it's essentially mandatory, even if you can opt out. It's so many